All right. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to episode 14 of Geekery Abides. I guess we can hit the intro stuff before we get too much into all the introductory stuff. Let's go ahead and hit the starting.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
Hello and welcome to Geekery Abides, episode 14. This episode, we are going to be talking about X-Men. My name is Tad, and with me as always, over here on the co-pilot seat is Peter.
Howdy.
Representing the co-piloting cohort of Chewbacca's and I don't know what other co-pilots there are, but
who's the famous X-Men co-pilot? Since we're talking about X-Men, Cyclops usually seems like the guy that flies the plane, but isn't
Jean
there?
Grey, maybe?
Is Jean usually the one? I don't know if Jean's usually the one. I think it's Storm. Storm's the co-pilot. I think Scott. I think Cyclops Scott Summers is the one that flies, and Storm is usually the co-pilot. Yeah.
Well, getting right into the X-Men stuff, but let's go ahead and dive right in. The first thing I want to do is throw out the emails. If you would like to contact us, we both of us we both co-produce. We do every other episode. I do the odds. Peter does the evens. That means that this is a Peter episode. If you have any feedback on this episode or have any suggestions or anything for a future episode for Peter, you can do that. Hit him up at peter@geekeryabides.com, or if you want to hit me up, you can find me at tad@geekeryabides.com. Tad is TADD. That's the ways to get in touch with us. I think I have had a couple emails already. Peter's inbox has still been sadly empty.
No good. No emails for Peter aside from the test ones when we got this set up.
Yeah.
So no one likes me. I get it. Fine.
And Carol chiming in to say that she loves the introduction, says it's so good. Thank you. I'm always self-conscious about stuff like that when I put it together.
Yeah.
I guess over time it is growing on me a bit, but it's just hard because I put it together, so it's like it never comes together exactly as you want it to. So you're always just like I'm super self-critical, but over time though it is growing on me for sure. So,
it's fantastic.
I'm glad that everyone enjoys it.
One of the rare times I will give you applause because you are a monster.
They love me. They really love me.
Let's not be too hasty, Frodo.
No, Sybil. What's her name?
Let's not be too hasty, Frodo Baggins.
No, I know, but
That's the line.
it's Sybil.
For Frodo.
What's her name that played Sybil? And she was winning the award when she said that.
I know.
What is it? What's her name? The mom from Mrs. Doubtfire. I always blank on the actor's name. But yeah, she. Yes. So that is the emails. Let's go ahead and jump on over to what have you been watching, reading, playing. What have you been up to recently, basically? It's up to you how we go about this. You want to go first?
You're already going. Go.
All right. So for me, watching has been a lot. I've streamed the entire third season of Superman and Lois. Just hit HBO Max. Literally the last time we recorded, it finally hit there. 'Cause there's this huge delay. I think it was like a 2-month delay from when the show ended. Loved it overall. I was a little bit disappointed in some choices at the very end there. Unfortunately, it appears as though a doomsday has appeared.
I know you don't like that.
I'm so sick of the death of Superman, for Christ's sake. And then I'm also watching My Adventures with Superman, also on HBO Max. That's actually a brand new cartoon. They're doing some really cool, interesting, newer things with Superman I'm really enjoying. And then I decided a few days ago to binge the entire run of Star Wars Rebels in the 14 days I have until Ahsoka. So I did watch a couple episodes of that this morning. Before
it's less than 14 days now, isn't
well,
it?
from when I started,
Yeah.
I had 14 days.
Oh, gotcha.
So I have to watch about 5 episodes a day. And of course, days off, I'll have to eat up some of the slack that I don't, because I'm not going to be able to watch 5 episodes.
Not working 10-hour days.
No, not on a work
You
night.
have to pick up what you missed on the weekends.
So I'm definitely watching Rebels. Then also, because the other thing I keep forgetting is I keep doing these watching, and I always do TV, and I don't pay attention to movies. Saw Meg 2, The Trench. I watched Oppenheimer for a 3rd time. I went and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem and the new horror movie Talk to Me. So all of those I've watched. Still just reading Superman comics. I actually am not in the middle of any books right now. Here pretty soon.
Did you finish the Oppenheimer one?
Yeah, American Prometheus.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, like a week or so ago.
Yeah, so you finished it.
Yeah, finished. Yeah,
You got to put that down for reading that you finished it.
Yeah, finished that. I'm holding off because I have something for the other podcast that I want to read.
Yeah.
For the next episode. And then playing. I've just been playing the Mortuary's Assistant and Ghost Recon Wildlands, doing a replay on that. So now that I played much in the last week, but that's what I've been playing when I'm playing. So,
Gotcha.
What about you? And then also in the chat, I know at least Carol and Lydia. We may have one other person.
Me?
Maybe somebody else. I don't know. The number keeps moving around. So
you never trust the number.
No.
Don't trust the numbers.
No.
So I finished watching Secret Invasion. That finished last week. I know you watched that too.
Indeed.
And then the only movie that I've seen is Meg 2, The Trench with You, which was just...
It was fun.
It was so corny.
It was fun.
It's so fun.
I love it.
I did read, went through the Keyhole. I finished it, and then I started a reread of Harry Potter. So I finished the first Harry Potter, and I'm partway through the second one. So Chamber of Secrets is what I'm on. And then I was going to talk to you about this yesterday when we did our hangout for our other podcast. I might be done with 7 Days to Die for a little bit, even though it just got a massive update and it's super fun and everything like that. They released Alpha 21 was the big update, but they released Alpha 21.1 update. And they added things, they fixed things, they changed things, and they made it so that the map that I have, where I'm already, well established and doing things and doing a different interesting way of playing, that map is no longer valid with the update. I have to start fresh. So I started fresh, I started playing, and I just went, I don't want to do this again. So close to a fresh restart that I did in June.
Yeah.
When or July when the June when the update came. So I have owned it for a while. I haven't replayed it for a while, but I bought it on Steam back like 6 months ago. But I started the remastered of Spider-Man on Thursday. So that's where I currently am.
I still got to jump back in. I've got like 3 or 4% to finish on that game for my fifth 100%ing. Yeah. And most of it's just story. I think I have almost everything else completed. I just got to go breeze through that tail end of the story. But you stopped and started playing Red Dead, didn't you? I think it was probably Red Dead. Yeah. Blame Red Dead.
Yeah,
that seems about right.
Damn it, Arthur.
No, I blame Dutch.
It's
all his fault.
I have a plan.
Him or Micah. It's one of those two.
It's Micah's fault.
Also, Carol just said that you got an email topic sent.
I did?
No, she just sent one to you.
Just now. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then Lydia says, yes, watching Secret Invasion, Futurama, Task Manager, Meg 2, Barbie, reading The Dry by Jane Harper, and playing Pokemon Go, and might play some more Pokemon on my Switch. So
Task Manager? Isn't it called Taskmaster? I think her phone auto-corrected on her.
Oh, I don't know.
It's a British show.
Oh.
It's a British comedy game show.
Is it like a guy that is sitting in like a factory and whips people? Task Manager?
No.
Keeps them working?
It is Taskmaster. Yes, her phone did update.
Okay.
No, it is similar to that, though. There's two hosts who give the contestants ridiculous tasks. Like they had to pick a costume and then open chips and decide and figure out what the flavors were. So just silly stuff. Right up my wife's alley. Oh, dude, they went. They went total tat on that.
We should go mystery chip with you.
Oh, fuck that! No, not with you. I ain't trusting you. No, but they went full tat on the chip flavors too, because one of them was burnt toast and one of them was toothpaste and tomato. And one was gin and tonic. So
you know what I would do with toothpaste? Throw a whole tube of it into a blender with some orange juice, blend that up, and have someone drink that.
Oh God. You are just the worst. That is terrible to say.
That's awesome. So
remind me, are we doing closing arguments now or after the news?
after news.
After news, because I have a closing argument for you.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Okay. So let's jump on into the news then. First up, Talk to Me. A couple things on that. So Talk to Me has been one of A24's biggest successes. It is actually their second highest opening weekend of all time for A24. So they have greenlit a sequel. I highly recommend this movie, by the way. Talk to Me. There's a lot of mediocre horror that comes out. This one was actually really good. And that is not just me saying it because I watched it with Hayden that was screaming and squirming and yelling at the screen, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It had good enough characters and stuff where I was walking away from this is a movie that people are going to watch 20 years from now because the characters are not just two-dimensional cardboard cutouts. There's
copy and paste from this horror film to this horror film.
They're characters that feel more well-rounded and you care about them and stuff. So highly recommend this movie.
You were talking about that with someone at work who's a huge horror film fan just like you.
Yeah.
And you were saying how good the characters were. I did pick up on that.
Yeah. Plus, the hand is just awesomely creepy. On the different side of the same coin, apparently a Talk to Me prequel has already been filmed.
Oh, wow.
Apparently the directors created it while shooting the first movie, and it is a screen-to-life movie, which I guess is what they're calling it now. That is a la Searching or Missing, where everything is on the screen.
Like someone's on their computer.
The entire thing, you see it from phone screens, computer screens. You could see Ring cameras.
There's a movie that did that.
Yeah, there's two. Searching and Missing.
Oh, okay.
Searching was the Asian guy's daughter goes missing, and then the sequel was Missing, which is where the girl's mom goes with someone to another country and then goes missing. And it's the whole thing is played through the screens. It's a brilliant style. I love it. I've loved both of those movies, but apparently they made one based on, and the whole screen to life movie that they filmed while filming the original movie, first movie, the second one's not out yet, is basically completely centered on the character, the first character at the very beginning of the movie, which if you know horror movies, you know that usually isn't a character that lasts more than the first scene.
That's the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's because they wanted to build out his backstory or what, but somehow they basically created a second movie while filming that movie. So there's apparently a prequel that is completely filmed. So that's interesting.
Carol says that she's watching YouTube reactions to my favorite shows, which is a favorite of Tad, is watching people react.
Indeed.
Like my wife reacting to that horrible video you sent yesterday.
I love reactions, man.
You do. You watch a lot of those. And then reading, she's still reading Fairy Tale by Stephen King. And playing, she's watching her grandson play baseball.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. So next up, out of left field that no one ever would have thought they'd ever hear, Lin-Manuel Miranda, famous for Hamilton, is adapting the cult classic movie The Warriors as a stage musical.
Alrighty then.
I hope that comes here because I want to see that.
You want us to go see that?
Oh, dude, I love The Warriors. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's awesome.
It's a great one, for sure.
For those of you that don't know what The Warriors is a 70s movie.
It's from the late 70s.
It's set in New York City. There's a bunch of gangs that have, their respective territory.
It's based on something
and
old.
Everything.
Is it the Odyssey? It's based on some Greek.
I think it's Homer's The Odyssey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's similar to that, where all these gangs come together under one guy who's trying to unite the gangs and take over New York City. And someone assassinates him and then blames the Warriors, who are from Coney Island, which is all the way across New York City. So they escaped this convention barely, but now all the gangs are after them because they think that they killed the leader guy.
Yeah.
And so they have to go through different gang territories to try and get back to their home turf.
Highly recommend the movie. Also, if you've seen the new John Wick, the entire last 45 minutes to an hour of that movie is a straight homage to the Warriors, so much so that you even see the lady. I don't know if you watch it yet. You even see the lady, the close-up shot of the lady in the mic where she's like, "Hey, all you boppers out there!"
Yeah,
I could even I had you watch the Warriors. So yeah, the last John Wick movie, there was a shit ton of references to the Warriors. So I'm really excited about that. And also Lin-Manuel Miranda. I don't know if there's a bigger name in stage productions than him. I mean, Hamilton's one of the most, if not the most successful stage thing of all time. So yeah, that'll get some credibility because of him.
Carol says, "Oh my God, me and my little brother were reminiscing about watching that on Showtime when we were kids.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It is really good. I love it. I'm going to have to rewatch it again. They also made a video game about it in the early 2000s.
They did.
And it was a cult. It became a cult classic video game as well.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the Whistles for Sending Signals. Yeah, it's a great movie. Highly recommend it. But apparently it is coming to the stage as a musical. So I hope and pray that one day we will see a high school adapting said musical. And because I don't know, that'd be cool.
You'd be all about that.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Next up, this is more sad news. Mark Margolis has passed away at the age of 83. Legendary journeyman actor known for such classics as Scarface, Ace Ventura, Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul. He's been in a lot of stuff, but I think most people probably know him from one of those four things. So as we always say,
good night, sweet prince.
I actually am not overly surprised. In Better Call Saul, those last couple seasons he was in, I definitely saw he was showing a lot more age than I was used to seeing with him. So he has passed away. And unfortunately, another one we have is William Friedkin, Oscar-winning director of The French Connection, as well as he directed what I probably consider the greatest horror movie ever made, The Exorcist. He has also passed away at age 87.
Good night, sweet prince.
So one more for him. Legendary director, love him. The French Connection's still a banger of a movie. And The Exorcist, again, I just talked about, Peter brought up loving reaction videos. I don't know if there's a horror movie that is as old, 1973, 50 years old now, but that still gets reactions from people the same today. I've watched Gen Zers watching it on YouTube, and they're reacting the same way as their grandparents did probably in the 1970s. Like it still holds up. So crazy stuff. Good actor or good director. Go out and see some of his movies if you haven't. Next up, Dead by Daylight has announced they are adding the Xenomorph.
Yep.
So that's an interesting
Have you
addition.
ever watched one of their trailers?
No.
Their announcement trailers?
I've only played the game a little
They
bit.
are fun as fuck to watch. They're usually pretty short. If I remember right, they usually do a Survivor and a new Hunter release trailer, and usually it like centers like, oh, we're talking about the Survivor, then it's them escaping and what powers they have and what special things they do. And then when it's the Hunter, they show like their stuff and everything like that. I actually saw it on YouTube. I meant to send it to you because I knew you were a fan of Xenomorphs, and I forgot.
Oh yeah.
So I think we should watch that. It's a lot of fun.
They're great. I don't know what's creepier though, Xenomorph or the Facehugger.
Facehugger.
Facehuggers are sinister as fuck, man.
Facehuggers are bad.
They're not good. Next up, Jurassic Park is returning to theaters for its 30th anniversary this year. But alas, there is a downside.
No.
It is unfortunately being ruined by being done in 3D.
Oh, man.
But if you are not opposed to 3D as much as I am, you can go see it Friday, August 25th. That'd be awesome to see. I just wish it was not in 3D.
That's the only way I've seen episode 1 in theaters is they released it in 3D.
Yeah. It's I just wish they would just put them out. And along with the original Star Wars, I think that Jurassic Park is one that should just be out every 8 to 10 years because I think every kid should have the ability to go and see that in theaters.
Go see that. Go see Ghostbusters. You know, some of these classics that we grew up on, and the even older generations, put The Exorcist out every 10, 15 years.
But and I'm hoping it does this year. I'm hoping we get it for the 50-year anniversary. But see, I'm not even into like Ghostbusters. But for me, there's just certain movies that are so awesome on the big screen, and I just think like Jurassic Parks and the original Star Wars, like every kid should have the ability to go see those on the big screen.
Avatar's one that should be that, especially in 3D. You have to re-release that every 10 years so people can go see that.
Yeah, you should exactly. As one that grew up on Star Wars on VHS and didn't see them in theaters until 1997, I can tell you that was a life-changing thing where it was just like I knew every frame of these movies. But to suddenly see them on big screen, it was like it was just different. It hit different.
Oh yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
This is a different experience. And like ever since that day in '97, I'm like, these need to come back every. At the time, I probably said 5 years, but maybe even that 5 to 10 years, man. Because give it time for a new generation of kids to come up, get to that right age, and then take them to go see fucking Star Wars and Jurassic Park in theaters. Because man,
call it 7 years.
Especially you get that good. like sound go to a really high end
yeah.
theater, and you get that rumbling sound of the T-Rex and stuff.
Dude,
Masterful.
I remember when Jurassic World came out, and I remember walking past a theater that had it played. It's like, boom! I'm like, there's a T-Rex going right now. I fucking know what that is. That's a T-Rex right now.
I will say there was one movie I saw not too long ago, and I was it wasn't a lot, but there was some nosebleed from Oppenheimer the next theater over.
You're like, that's Oppenheimer.
I'm like, oh yeah, I know that. I know that sound.
Things go boom.
Yes, things go very boom. All right, so next up, we have another sad one. Unfortunately, Johnny Hardwick has died at the age of 64. He is the legendary voice actor for Rusty Shackelford and or Dale Gribble, depending on which identity you give him.
Yeah.
So
Good night, sweet prince.
we need to maybe think about some Dale Gribble sound.
I was just gonna say, we don't have Dale Gribble on our soundboard, sir. That's we need some pocket sand or
Pocket
something.
sand.
Pocket sand.
I will say, I mean, of course, I mostly, love and to his family and everything. But I'm also curious. They been working on a revival for the show, and not that that's the most important thing by any means, but it is something that certainly comes to mind. How do you move forward with the show like that with one of the best characters of the show? And not that show already hasn't seen some losses. Tom Petty is no longer alive that played Lucky. Brittany Murphy has passed away that played Luann.
Yeah.
I think their plan was probably just to have those two married and they've moved away or something. The one that voiced Grandpa or Cotton Hill has passed away, but the character died at the end of that show, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, Dale, that's a tough one. And he did a wonderful job over the years voicing Dale Gribble.
Yeah.
So, let's see. What am I missing in the chat here? Lydia saying we had that when we were watching Barbie, the Oppenheimer nosebleed.
Oh yeah, she went and saw it with a group of girls, and they had Oppenheimer going off. I didn't hear about that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then she said, "Sir, we are they." Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite lines is something about making a bomb. I can make a bomb with a roll of toilet paper and a stick of TNT.
Yeah.
There's a million lines from him for sure. Carol says, I took my lifelong friend to the director's extended cut of The Exorcist the last time they put it in theaters, and he looked at me and asked me, what have you brought me to? It was so awesome. I think that would have been in the late 90s. I remember that because my parents wouldn't take me. I believe I had seen it already, the original, but I don't know if they knew I had seen it. Not that they were ever super protective.
Sure.
But my dad was always a little bit uneasy about The Exorcist in general. It was a movie he wasn't overly fond of, so I think maybe he had the lie in his head that we hadn't seen it. But I remember when that happened though, because I was like pissed I couldn't go see it because I had seen like the trailers where it's like, oh, there's new scenes and stuff, and I'm like, I want to see that fucking movie.
And now it's the only version that you'll watch.
Pretty much. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you not get the spider crawl otherwise?
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. They I just threw it in our group chat. They just dropped a trailer for the 4K that is coming out later
in October.
This year. So
can't
wait.
Right
for
around
that.
the time of the sequel, another sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call it. Requel, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Erasing the other sequels and doing this one.
Reboot sequel type thing. Or maybe it's even just it's a legacy sequel, I think is what you'd call it. Is because it's like, it's not really like ignoring a lot. It's just taken off from the first movie, kind of like the Halloween movies did. So, And then Carol also says 64 is so young about Johnny, indeed. And then Carol says, I love reading the captions now because they try to track Dale. Yeah, dude, I did. Yeah, at some point we're gonna have an episode about King of the Hill. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be a good episode.
I'm gonna go write that down real fast. Give me just a moment.
Okay, and then next up, a little bit less sad news. We have some happy news. The Fall of the House of Usher has finally been announced. It is coming out on October 12th to Netflix. That is the Mike Flanagan show that is going to be adapting Edgar Allan Poe, kind of in a vague way, kind of like Haunting a Hill House is a pretty direct take on it was the Bly Manor one was kind of a one where he kind of compiled a couple different things into one story, so he's doing the same thing but for Edgar Allan Poe. They got a legendary cast involved there. It is his last thing that he is doing that he did for Netflix. Now he has moved on.
Yeah, he had a Netflix exclusive. He did
pretty much everything he's done.
Everything he's done. Gerald's
except
Game.
for movies. There's some movies that were done.
Dr. Sleep was not Netflix exclusive.
Yeah.
But Gerald's Game was a Netflix exclusive. Bly Manor,
Midnight Mass,
and Haunting of Hill House.
And there's that newer one with the young kids. Midnight Club.
And now we're getting
Fall of the House of Usher.
Fall of the House of Usher is 6 at least that I have. I think there's 1 or 2 more if I remember right.
It might be. Yeah, he's done a lot, but yeah. So that's awesome. Can't wait for August 12th, or October 12th, which is actually the day before The Exorcist.
Thursday.
That's
so watch The Exorcist, and then that weekend you're going to be watching
that's going to be a busy
Fall
weekend.
of the House of Usher.
It's going to be a busy weekend.
You might need to take Monday off or something, you know?
I might have to, yeah. Let's see. Oh, and she meant not Dale Boomhauer about the closed captions. Yeah.
Oh.
I've never actually tried that.
Dude, do they actually have closed captions for Boomhauer? I turned them off on Hulu because it's one of those shows. Maybe it was just season 1.
I don't usually have them on at all.
I have them on. It's just habit for me to have them on. But I turned them off because it was one of those shows where it was so off. Like Luann would be talking and the subtitles wouldn't show up until Hank was talking, and it's just I hate it when it's like that. So
yeah. So next up, we got some sad news ish.
Not as sad.
No, no more deaths, fortunately.
Oh, thank God.
But the strike has Disney has Disney shifting release dates.
Yep.
So I've got good news and bad news on that.
Deadpool moved up.
Which one do you want first? Good news or bad news?
Deadpool moved up. That's the good news, right?
No.
Oh, give me the bad news then.
The bad news is Deadpool is no longer on the schedule.
Fuck! Sorry about that. I just spiked like all the sound levels there.
Yeah. Deadpool is no longer on Disney's immediate schedule.
Do we have a button for where it's just like I just want to cry? Like
we need some sort of depression button, don't we?
The
good news, because there is a lot of other.
My wife in the chat.
There's a lot of other things there, but most of it's Disney side. The only thing that's really Marvel or Star Wars, which I think is a little bit more up our alley. Not saying that everyone else, there's not other people who are into the Disney stuff, so there may be more to look into there. But for us, the only other thing is that the Marvels is actually sticking on the same date. So that one did not get moved. Because there's been some debates on that, because with the actors on strike, there's been a lot of concerns about some big movies going to get pushed because they don't want to put them out with no actor publicity and press. So the Marvels, though, with the new one that just happened in the last week, it is still showing on November 10th.
Man.
However, Deadpool 3 is no longer showing. In fact, I held back because in our chat last night, Hayden was asking about what the next Marvel movie was. I didn't want to say anything because really what the answer would have been before knowing this, it would have been Deadpool was the next thing on the docket after the Marvels. Yeah,
because they had moved it up.
Yeah, and then it would have been Captain America after that, but now Deadpool is no longer on the schedule at all, which is weird because we did hear it got done filming pretty much. So
the Vader no. Is that what we need for our soundboard? No.
We might. So that is unfortunate. Next one, we're moving into rumor territory here. This is actually one I've heard off and on over the years.
Okay.
I haven't necessarily bought it. But the rumor is that Disney might be up for purchase.
I saw that.
And
what do you mean? What do you? What?
And it sounds like
crazy.
It sounds like the one that would likely be sold to would be Apple that would buy Disney.
Yes,
because Apple has more cash on hand than fucking God. And there's also a lot of ties. So Iger has ties to Apple's. Apple. He has actually been on their board of directors. Also, back in the day, Steve Jobs was on the board of directors of Disney. Also, Steve Jobs bought the computer company from Lucas that became Pixar.
Yep.
And he sold that eventually, or he did a lot of the work with Pixar through Disney. I think it may have been after his death that it was way later on that Disney actually bought Pixar. But either way, Steve Jobs is he's Lucas, and then him, and then Disney is kind of how the Pixar chain of custody. So there's a lot of deep ties there. Apple has insane cash reserves. Also, the reason that I'm actually covering this now is because there's a big likelihood that there would be some issues with the government, especially with all the TV stuff that Disney owns. But the thing that made me actually put more credence into these rumors is that very recently on a whatever earnings call, Bob Iger actually talked about potentially selling all of their TV properties.
Jeez.
Things like ESPN, FX, ABC. And once I heard that, I'm like, suddenly the rumors of, because what you generally do before a big sale like that is you tighten the belt, and TV things is probably where Apple would have some troubles with government oversight stuff. So if Disney
and
were
they've
to
been making
Disney,
changes to a lot of those channels too.
Yeah, if Disney were just to chop all of that out of their stuff, it would make a sale that much easier. So that's the only reason I'm reporting it. It's a rumor right now, but that would be a cataclysmic.
There might be a
shift
slight leg for it to stand on, is what it looks like.
Yeah,
because there are some stuff pointing towards this. This has happened before with stuff that's sold. Is that, like you said, the tightening of the belt and everything like that? We've seen this before, so it's like reading the signs, reading the tea leaves.
Yeah, reading the tea leaves, and that's the first time that I've really usually I just roll my eyes. I mean, there's been rumors that Apple's wanted to get into the full-on Hollywood game for a long time. There's always been people talking, Amazon bought MGM not too long ago. There was rumors that Apple was involved in potentially wanting that. There was also rumors that Sony's been probably one of the lesser studios recently, and then maybe Sony or Apple would buy them. But wow, wouldn't it be Apple's style to not take one of the smaller struggling companies, but go and buy
uppercut everybody,
go and buy the behemoth that is Disney. So that's crazy,
because everything that comes with Disney is also Hulu comes with that as well. But it's also talking about, when you look at Disney, you look at Star Wars, Marvel,
Pixar,
the
parks,
like all of Disney, all of it.
Yeah.
Disney brought to you by Apple.
Yeah, pretty much. Mickey's face disappears and it's just an apple with ears.
We got the bite taken out of it.
Yeah, the bite taken out of the ear.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, I didn't do that.
I didn't do that.
All right, so the next one, another rumor. This one feels like midway between a rumor and news, and it's unbelievable. Allegedly, Five Nights at Freddy's is reportedly going to be 3 hours long.
Good Lord, that's
unheard of for horror movies, man.
But it's also a kids' horror movie. Like the game is marketed a lot towards younger, teenagers and adolescents and stuff like that. So to make a longer horror movie, geez, good Lord.
Yeah. So what I've read is that, I mean, it's Blumhouse, so this isn't just like a shitty studio kind of run amok or whatever. But it sounds like Blumhouse and the directors are very happy with what they have, and if the rumors are true, that is a 3-hour cut, which is the same length as Oppenheimer. And again, for horror movies, that's unheard of. I mean, it takes a lot usually to get a horror movie that falls outside of the 90-minute realm. Yeah. So a 3-hour one, good God, we'll see. But
Carol says that is too long for horror, even for adults.
Yeah.
That is a long horror film.
That's wild. Next up, rumor-wise, this is a strange one and potentially upsetting. Disney, rumor is that Disney may want Mandalorian Season 4 to be adapted and made into a movie instead of a television series. So this is potentially due to the writer's strike. It would come after the Rey film. It would be directed by Dave Filoni, which would mean that he would now have 2 movies instead of 1. And this would the one that currently is for sure existing with Dave Filoni directing, Jon Favreau is producing. Jon Favreau would also produce this if this were if this ends up happening. And this also is supported by, rumor-wise, the other reason because I'm not going to bring a lot of rumors into the show. But the thing is that Bob Iger on some of his calls recently has talked about, basically saying to hell with TV and streaming, movies need to be our priority. And quality needs to be at the utmost. So those things being said, and then this rumor coming out, that kind of follows.
Because he came back right after we had a big batch of streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
We had stuff like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Loki,
2 seasons of Mando,
Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, a whole ton on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And he's just like, nah.
Yeah,
movies.
Yeah, it's got to be, movies have to be the priority, and he also talked about movies being kind of a big event and feeling special. They've got to be high quality. The big thing, real fast, sorry, Tad. The big thing is with Bob Iger, we have to remember is that he was CEO of Disney before for a long time.
For a long time, left and is coming back, so he might be looking to change things back to the way they were, where the stuff was changed while he was gone. So that's very possible. Which I appreciate you bringing this one up because I have seen signs of things pointing back towards that. I mean, we just had one for Marvel get switched from a show to a movie. It was a War Machines thing, wasn't it? No, Captain America. Wasn't that initially going to be a...
No, that's always been a movie.
It was always a movie. There was something that was switched from a series to a movie, and I mentioned this before, and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Carol says, what are these people doing? Just ruining everything. The Mandalorian needs to stay TV, so Disney Plus is done right. And I don't think they're going to do away with Disney Plus. In fact, the rumor is that what they're going to do, even though the the subscriptions are going to stay separate, but it sounds like they're actually going to be merging the Hulu app into Disney Plus app, so there's only one app, and it'll all fall into the same thing. If you don't subscribe to Hulu, it'll just be blacked out, and you won't have whatever. But if you have both, you'll be under one app. I don't think they're going to get rid of it. If nothing else, it's always going to be a good distribution point for their movies after they leave theaters. And it's a good revenue stream for them. But it just sounds like he doesn't want, especially these top level things, like Star Wars and Marvel, getting everything streamed rather than movies.
September 29th, 2022, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Marvel shakes up Armor Wars as Don Cheadle series now being developed as a movie. So that's what it was. Armor Wars was initially supposed to be on Disney Plus, and that is right around the time that Bob Iger came back.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is it seems like what this is saying for the rumor could be true.
I will say I love The Mandalorian. But I will say I can maybe see I don't know if a season could be made into one movie, but maybe two.
Yeah.
Because there is, I'm not going to say flab because I enjoy all of it. But there are times where it's like you could just take out a couple side quests. If you take the real bones of any season of Mandalorian, you've got a movie or two there.
Also the problem, and you've had this complaint more than me, is God damn, some of those episodes are short.
Yeah. Although I've heard that Ahsoka, most episodes are almost every episode is going to be around the 40-something minute mark.
Good.
So.
But me and you have both commented, and I know
it's
you that gets really upset about it because it's like you wait for Mandalorian all week and then you get a 29. Well, there
was one that was like 19 minutes.
We're like, what the fuck is this? A short?
And they have like 5 minutes of fucking credits. So it's like that was like a 15-minute episode.
Yeah, because Disney has like that whole big long credit now where it go through all the different languages and everything. So 19 minutes, it's really more like
14 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Take season 1 of Mandalorian, go through it and really look at it. I could make a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah, we'll see, but that's the rumor. Next up, this one's again more rumor / news. It sounds like Final Destination 6 is ready to be shot once the strikes end. They have not made a Final Destination since 2011.
Hey.
So it sounds like the Final Destination franchise might be taking a step into the modern world. I'm down. I'd be down to see more of those.
Wait, 2011, really?
Yeah, I looked it up just to see because I'm like, God, it's been a long time since we've had one of these movies.
That's right. Because that's my very first date with my wife was to go see that movie.
Fifth one,
the Final Destination 5. Yeah, don't go on bridges.
All right,
it's bad for your health.
More rumor. We have the rumor is apparently Vanessa Kirby is going to be cast as Sue Storm. She is.
All right, now hold on. Let me go Google Vanessa Kirby.
So she was the White Widow in the last number of Mission Impossible movies. She's kind of that. Like she has that place that Ethan and their group goes to like get information, and they're like buying.
Oh, okay.
So the rumor is that's who she is. She's also played Princess Margaret in The Crown. I assume The Crown is popular, so people might know who she is from that. I couldn't find a whole lot else that really jumped out at me as stuff I would know her for, but that's the rumor. We'll see. I do feel that the Fantastic Four castings are probably coming very soon. Next up, Simon Pegg picks his favorite Cornetto trilogy film. This is interesting.
Okay.
This is just a quote. He says, "My favorite Cornetto trilogy," he says, "is actually The World's End because it's the least audience friendly." He says, "It's the darkest of the three. It's the most challenging, and I love the idea of actually putting the audience in a position where they feel a little bit uncomfortable and not necessarily cozy into the familiar." So that's interesting.
I remember nothing about that movie because I didn't like it.
I bet you if you rewatched it, you'd probably view it different. See, I think a lot of us went in the first time just expecting another
Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, and it certainly wasn't that. But I've thought at some point Cornetto trilogy's probably got to end up on our lists for sure.
Carol makes a good point. She says they turn everything into movies, and I'm not paying for it anymore. So that is that. That is true. Movie prices are fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I don't know. I can't say that I don't hate the idea of seeing my boy Din up on the big screen, though.
That I'm not gonna lie, that'd be.
And Dave Filoni directing, like giving him more movies, like
Baby Yoda on the big screen.
See if Ted Lasso will punch him again in a bag. And then last couple bits here, we got news. George A. Romero's final zombie film is moving forward.
Nice.
It is called Twilight of the Dead. He wrote the treatment, and his family paid for some writers to flesh out the script. And they are now looking to find a director to helm it. It is titled Twilight of the Dead. It was meant to be his final zombie film whether he passed away or not. This was
okay, cool.
His idea of it was this was the finale to his entire
He had a contingency
thing.
plan.
So, yeah, it's more like I think he was trying to get it made because, I mean, for years there he was bitching when they were doing like The Walking Dead, and he's like, how the fuck can I not get funding? I created these things.
Yeah.
And I can't get funding for a $20-30 million movie. And I think this is the one that he wanted to do.
Good.
So he had a treatment made. Writers have written it out. Now they're going to find some directors, and we will see the spiritual last film of George A. Romero as a zombie movie.
Yeah, Carol says, I mean, I'm not paying for Disney Plus anymore because why? They won't have any content I want to see.
Yeah. I think it would mostly. I mean, I'm sure there'll still be some stuff on there, but I just think that he wants to prioritize the theaters because I do think that, in some ways, Disney has kind of taken some haircuts in the theater recently. They haven't had as much quality content in the theaters as they have had on streaming, and I think that that's kind of where he's looking at. Is he's like, we're a movie business, like we're not a streaming business. We're not Netflix. We're Disney. Let's prioritize movies.
Yeah.
Not to say we can't do streaming stuff, but let's make sure that our movie business is in order. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't love or hate the idea. I have positive and negative when it comes to The Mandalorian. Like, as a movie, like, again, I love the idea of Filoni on the big screen directing. I love the idea of seeing on the big screen, but I also do love what The Mandalorian has given us for 3 seasons, and I think doing that on the big screen, you're going to lose a lot of the nature of what a television show is. So I don't know. Where do you feel? Because I'm kind of on the fence. I'm both sides of it. I hate some. I like some. I don't know.
Carol's really made a good point because I'm worried about Disney Plus. Then is that what are we paying for it for? Like, just to have the Disney library and stuff like that. Their movies are no longer anywhere else. So if I wanted to go watch Mulan or Hercules, I have to go to Disney Plus.
Sure. But also, if you're not a hard copy person like me, like when Guardians is now available, like that's where you watch it, right? If you don't
that's what I'm saying. That's good for Disney Plus, is that I have that, is that I can go watch the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe minus one Spider-Man movie. On Disney
Which
Plus.
I think they're
now.
trying to get that.
They're working on it.
Yeah, it's a contractual nightmare.
But so for me, it's I think it's a double-edged sword because I'm with Carol, man. There's already so much that I'm seeing in movies that could you imagine if they threw Mandalorian in theaters over the last couple of years with how many movies we've been to see and how much we have to keep up with the MCU, with Star Wars, with all these different ones that we're trying to keep up.
Star Wars hasn't been in theaters since 2019.
It hasn't. So. And you know what? Honestly, I miss it. I do. I miss the universe. I love it. But at the same time, it's just like, man, fuck, am I going to have time to see all of these movies? Am I going to have the financial ability to see all these movies if I'm paying for all these streaming services too? So I get where she's coming from. I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I want it to be good. I want movies to be good, but I mean,
the
last Star Wars movie on film was not up to snuff.
Yeah, it was something else. And then the last bit of news I've got here is Scream 7 has a director shakeup. Matt Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gilliott, who directed the last 2, have dropped out of 7. And Christopher Landon is set to direct now in their place. He previously did Happy Death Day and the very well regarded movie Freaky with what the fuck's his name?
Never even heard of that one.
The dipshit from in the second Jurassic Park, Vince Vaughn.
Oh, Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn. But the thing that I'm going to take as a positive from this is Happy Death Day and Freaky are both horror movies that had a really good comedic twist. So I kind of think that he might bring the humor back to Scream that's been missing for the last couple films.
4 films.
No, I think Wes kept it pretty well in the 4th. But the two these other 2 have done, which I have loved, have been missing on the humor a bit. So Christopher Landon may actually be bringing back kind of the classic vibe. So we'll see. Some shake up there. That's all I got. I know there's a lot of news, but been a lot of shit happening.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And then Carol also says, okay, of course, I do have kids, but they are grown, and I no longer have to provide them with entertainment. Yeah, no, it's true. I think that's going to be what they're going to have to figure out from Disney Plus's side is
where's the balance?
What maybe they're even trying to feed to different people. People with younger kids aren't going to go to movie theaters in general. If you've got 3 or 4 kids, like that's an expensive outing. So maybe you just wait till it comes out on Disney Plus and you just watch it there. I don't know. I don't know the full thinking there, but we'll see.
I will say that if you give families, my sister is one of them. She has 4 kids. If you give them the option to be able to watch something without having to drag them to the theater and pay $100 just for them to get in, they're going to use it, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
But that's our last news item.
Yes, sir.
That's interesting. My closing argument is about Scream.
Oh, yeah?
It sure is. It sure is. Do we have a slide for closing arguments?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
Absolutely. Have we been keeping score?
I was thinking about that. I threw one at you last time, but it wasn't a full-on one.
We said we weren't going to count.
So are we still just...
That one we didn't count.
Do we both just have one then?
No, I failed on one. You failed me on the Star Wars one.
The miscellaneous one still shows 1 and 1, so I guess we haven't kept up with it.
I thought you were updating it. My apologies.
I guess I probably should have. You open the miscellaneous more than I do. I only opened it very recently. In fact, doing the prep for this show, because I was like, Peter said he wanted some sound bites. Like, oh, yeah, maybe put it in the miscellaneous. And I opened it for the first time in probably a month. So, yes.
I think it's more than one for you. I think I've given you a couple. But anyways, moving on, because we want to get talking about X-Men here in a second. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I don't know if I've done this yet with closing arguments. I'm not giving you, like, convince me of this is usually what we do with closing arguments. I'm letting you pick a side because I can't decide.
That's an admirable. That's maybe even a better way to do it.
I can't decide
because there are some times that like I've thought of topics, but I'm like I don't know which side he'd be on, so I don't know.
Exactly.
So that's a good.
So
call.
I'm leaving this one as a choose your own adventure, Goosebumps style throwback. But convince me, which role is harder in a Scream film, the killer or the lead antagonist? The survivor, the Sidney, or the boyfriend? Which one's harder?
In a modern one, not being Sidney, though, right? Because I feel like if
we got new movies. Scream 7 reboots everything. Let's say it reboots everything.
It does. I don't know if it will, but yes.
I'm just saying. Let's say it reboots. We have a new damsel in distress, a new heroine, if you will.
Yeah.
And her name is, let's call her Claire. Right?
Are you talking about from an actor's perspective?
From an actor's perspective, which role is harder? Role is harder as the killer to portray someone who is loving, but you also have at the same time have to hide those little tendencies. Because, dude, if you go watch the original Scream,
yeah,
and you look at Billy, dude, there are some fucking hints there. But are they underhanded hints? Is Wes really trying to hint that he's the killer?
Because there's red herrings too.
Exactly.
And I think the thing is, it's magical about the first one is they all knew the script. Because in a lot of the sequels, dude, the killers don't know. They're given scripts that have 3 or 4 endings.
As they go.
And they're given ones that have 3 or 4 endings, so then nothing can get leaked.
Yeah.
So there's times that, like, people have, like, only found out, like, at the premiere that, like, oh, I'm the killer.
Oh, we filmed all of this, but I am actually the killer.
Yeah, it's like we filmed every version of it, so it's like I've been a victim, and
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, not on all of them, but there's a lot of secrecy with Scream.
So let's say they do the George. Okay, so I'm going to paint the picture. I'm going to set the rules here for you, so that's a true closing arguments for you. Let's go George Lucas style. Empire Strikes Back. The killer knows, the heroine knows, and the people behind the camera know. Those are the only 2 actors that are going to know. None of this fake ending things. Which role is harder when playing the part?
All right.
Go ahead.
So
Get ready, set, go.
I think it's going to be the heroine for a couple reasons. One, you are wrestling with Neve Campbell's ghost because you're stepping into her franchise. It'll always be her franchise. So you're going to have to always overcome that element of it. You also are, generally speaking, going to have some sort of traumatic backstory. Both Sidney, as well as Sidney's, obviously gets more traumatic every movie. But also, when you get into the realm of like the newer few, where it wasn't her and she was a side character-ish or a backup character, there's been trauma involved with them. So actor-wise, you're going to have to play that trauma. You're going to have to be able to like be a little bit more three-dimensional. And then just you're also on screen as the character a lot more. With the killer, so much of it's going to be behind the mask, which the actors generally aren't playing behind the mask anyway. You'll have a stunt person behind there. The other thing is that I guess part of making my case, I'm going to undercut the other side of the case, because the other thing too is you're not doing the heavy lifting as the killer, because you have, I'm blanking on his name, but the one dude that's done the voice for Ghostface in every movie, he's reading all the lines from the killer's perspective. So it's like you're not embodying the role until the final scene when they take the mask off. You're going to have a stunt double doing it.
Sure.
You're not doing the voice. There's no real fucking voice changer that's perfect. Yeah. No, it's that dude filling the voice side. So all you have to do is the side stuff, which I wouldn't say it would be difficult. I think that would be fun. From what I've seen from actors, especially in like whodunits and stuff, they tend to really relish those roles. So I think the killer side is actually going to be a funner way to go. Whereas I think that you're going to kind of have the weight of the world. You're the center of the movie if you're that too. So not only Nev's ghost and all that, but you're also the movie's going to kind of live or die on you. Like if it turns and if so, like 7, if it ends up kind of being the first Scream movie that really sucks, like you're probably going to take the blame. It's the people aren't going to look at the director. They're not going to look at the voice actor. They're not going to look at the stunt double. Like they're not even going to look at the side character. No, they're going to look at you and go, "This was your movie." And it wasn't great. And even if it wasn't your fault, it's kind of the quarterback thing, right? Whether it's your fault or not, you're going to take the blame.
Yeah, you put up 40 points as the quarterback, but you lose by 2 points because they put up 42.
Yeah,
you still play. Well, why didn't you put up 45?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be the heroine. Like I said, the only reason I asked earlier about Neve Campbell, because I think if it's Neve, that completely changes the equation because.
She's done it.
She's done it. She's a fucking master. But yeah, coming in there though, it's like kind of like Halloween, right? Like these last couple Halloweens, you've had people that are acting against Jamie Lee Curtis, but they're the main heroine now, and Jamie Lee Curtis isn't. It's like you're gonna live in that shadow.
Yeah.
Like you may be playing her granddaughter, but it's like still. You're in that role now. That
you're right there.
Michael Myers is chasing you instead of her now. Like that's. You that's got to be a psychological thing a bit to kind of struggle with. Like Nev's been more consistently in Scream than Jamie Lee's been in Halloween. She's been in all but one movie now, so it's like and like hey, we know all the backstory behind why she didn't show up in the last one, but the next one there's a big expectation that Neve might come back. So if it turns out that she's not back at all and someone else is in that role, that's going to be a tough spot to where it's like, hey, you are now like the one-off may be a spoof or a one-time thing, but if it's a second one now, it's on you, and the future of the franchise might lay on you as an actor to where you might be one that they expect for the next, like a Bond movie, the next 4 or 5 movies, and so you better do your job well. Yeah. So that would be my take on it.
Okay. And the ruling is?
You're such a good lawyer that by tomorrow morning you will
work in Alaska.
So dress warm.
Dress warm. I still feel like that's a negative. I don't know why, but I feel like that's a negative. Like you failed. But that is our.
Because it's because he's talking to the cop. Because he's saying, "I have a good lawyer." So he's such a good lawyer. You're going to end up in Alaska.
Oh, okay. See, I thought he was talking to his lawyer.
No. It's the cop that busts him.
I have such a good lawyer. I always thought he says you're such a good lawyer.
No, it's because he has his accent going.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
The reasons why I say yes, because I got to explain it a little bit, is that I was leaning towards the side of the killer because you have to play two sides of it. You have to flip that switch at some point in the movie where you have to be the killer and everything like that. But you make valid points that the voice change, the voice and the stunt doubles are the ones that are playing the killer for the first half of the movie until you get revealed. But also the thing that you got me with is you don't remember the killer. No one remembers Nick Castle. Everyone remembers Laurie Strode.
Well,
I mean,
some of us.
Ted, normal people. Normal people.
I'll take that.
Normal people.
Roger L. Jackson is the name of the voice actor.
Yeah, no one blames him if the franchise falls on its face.
No.
If Scream fell on its face, it falls on Neve Campbell. And that's the big my barometer was I was on the killer side and you started to pull me and then it's like and then you said like, dude, if the franchise fails, it falls on the heroine. Dude, buried. After that, you could have just said not another word, and it would have been because it is absolutely true. Horror franchises depend on their hero.
Yeah,
I know there's it's usually a heroine. There are a few heroes, so let's on the survivor, whoever that is, whoever the survivor is, usually who that horror film. If you don't have a strong one, the horror film, no matter how good your killer is.
Yeah.
Usually the film fails, and and the series dies and everything like that.
Yeah.
Now there are exceptions that prove the rule. Friday the 13th, I don't remember a single one of the damn damsels in distress.
Yeah, it's true.
But I remember Jason. Yeah. So exception that proves the rule with Freddy there. Yeah. I mean, with Freddy and Jason as well.
Well, I think
those two.
The other thing with him is his regular doesn't come up till much later in the series. I think his name's Tommy. He's played by Corey Feldman.
Right.
And then he's played by 2 other movies. He's played as an adult. So he actually, there's like a 3-movie stretch with him as like the repeated person, but it
The
doesn't.
hero,
It doesn't come in until the 4th, 5th, and 6th movie, I think. So it's like you're so far into that point that like
it's like but for normal horror films, especially if you're rebooting one,
yeah.
like I said, we're rebooting on Scream 7. We're going to reboot the franchise and start over and have an original Scream. This, the Haddonfield, the Westboro murders hadn't happened. It's gonna fall. It's gonna fall on her shoulders.
Oh yeah.
Like it's got to, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's tough shoes to fill.
So with that, main topic time.
Oh yeah. Let's go ahead.
Let's
and change
go
the
ahead
slide
and main topic. You got a soundbite for me? Yeah. Fucking love this theme.
It's a debate.
It is on the Mount Rushmore of theme songs for cartoons. Dude, that's a good one. Mount Rushmore for cartoons.
I even think just one top. It's for me. It's a debate between that and Ninja Turtles for all timers. They're so good, dude.
I fucking love Turtles too. So first question, obviously X-Men. Marvel Comics came out in the 60s, right?
Yep. 63.
Give me some history. Give me some history on X-Men, as you have read some of the early comics for X-Men, right?
Yes. God, that's hard to search now because all the movies and shit.
Absolutely.
I want to say 63, maybe 64. Let's see.
First X-Men comic.
I was reading 63, September 63. So, so basically, the Silver Age of Marvel started up in the early 60s. I think it was 62. And it started with Fantastic Four. Was the first thing that jumped out of the bag there. The Incredible Hulk was also there, but the Fantastic Four was an absolute fucking smash hit. It was huge. Honestly, the wave of that carried through and basically minted the Silver Age. There's a lot of good stuff that came from it, but the big thing that ended up happening was everyone loved that idea of that core 4 team, and that's actually what X-Men started out as. Like X-Men is such a large and unwieldy beast. I remember even as a kid when I was like getting into comics, because my dad grew up in the 70s with them and 80s with them, and I remember at one point going to a comic shop, and I don't remember if it was my dad or if it was the comic book guy, where I was just like asking like, oh, I want to read something, and like, okay, Marvel or DC? Well, Marvel. Like, to hell with DC, like, because my dad was Marvel, so I'm Marvel, and it's like, well, I love X-Men because the X-Men animated series and stuff, and it's like, oh, X-Men and this and that. And listen, I'm like, well, okay, they're like, you got Marvel, DC's your first choice, your second choice is Marvel or X-Men, and which kind of confused me because I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, X-Men is so big and unwieldy that you're either like hardcore into X-Men or everything else Marvel. Like, it's almost so big that X-Men almost, and like we've seen it a little bit in the debates when it comes to like how the fuck are they going to roll the X-Men into the MCU? Like, the MCU is so big, and so how the fuck do you add something the size of X-Men into it? And it was the same thing with the comics back in the day. And if you're a hardcore reader, if you were an X-Men reader, chances are you didn't read Fantastic Four, you didn't read Captain America, you didn't read Iron Man, you didn't read Spider-Man. Your whole, because there were so many lines that encompass the X-Men series that would be your full-time comic book thing. So
yeah.
And then they've obviously been around. They haven't stopped since 63. It became a huge hit as well. A lot of people would say, I don't know at what period that they found that it surpassed like Fantastic Four in popularity. But it obviously did. It's about mutants. It was the original idea behind it was actually social commentary. It was a parable for the civil rights era. You had Charles Xavier that was reflective of Martin Luther King, that preached nonviolent action for the most part. Protest.
Yeah.
And then Malcolm X is on the other side, which is was kind of reflected in Magneto, where it was all about more.
We got to take what's ours.
Yeah, Iron Fist. Like, they are going to come after us. We got to go after them. So but they were both like, I don't think that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were necessarily as friendly as Magneto and Xavier would end up being, but that was kind of what Stan Lee was always about, like, what's the reality of the people that are reading our stuff. Let's try to reflect that world in our comics as much as possible. And sometimes they even got in trouble for that. So that's kind of what the onus of it was. But yeah, originally it was just the 4 characters with the creepy old guy in the background that's running the whole thing, which is Charles Xavier, which I'm trying to remember now. I've read
there was 5 original characters.
It was Cyclops, Jean Grey,
Cyclops,
Angel,
Cyclops,
and Iceman.
Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Beast, Angel, and Iceman were the 5 original X-Men in Uncanny X-Men #1.
Okay, yeah, because they're basically playing on the Fantastic Four, though.
Yeah.
Xavier doesn't really count, like I said. They added him in, which was a new flavor because the Fantastic Four didn't really have a behind the scenes
right.
Older sage like Zordon from the Power Rangers. They didn't really have that.
Right.
So they wanted to add that for X-Men because they also wanted, because basically the other big thing was the biggest part of the Fantastic Four that was really popular was Johnny Storm. They made him a teenager, which is reflective of a lot of your readers. And he was such a big hit that at one point they tried to even spin him off potentially to do his own thing. In the Tales to Astonish, I think, which is where Ant-Man was located for a while, Johnny had his own standalone things. You wouldn't see the rest of the Fantastic Four in there. So when they came up a year or so later and they were deciding on the X-Men, they decided, hey, let's make a whole team of teenagers with different problems and different stuff. And it's because of that they wanted to obviously put Xavier in charge, because you want to have some sort of supervision if you've got nothing but a bunch of kids.
So I actually have 2 quotes here along those lines talking about the development of X-Men. One of them is from Stan Lee himself in 2004.
Okay.
And the quote reads, "I couldn't have anybody bitten by a radioactive spider or exposed to a gamma ray explosion. And I took the cowardly way out. I said to myself, why don't I just say they're mutants? They're born that way."
Yeah.
So that comes down to that. And then in 1987, an interview from Jack Kirby, Stan Lee's buddy, and co-creator, I should say, for a lot of stuff in Marvel.
Yeah, Stan may have come up with a lot of stories, but Jack was the one flexing that pencil to...
That's exactly it. And this is where it gets into the minutia of where the X-Men came from and everything like that. The X-Men, I did the natural thing there. What would you do with mutants who were just plain boys and girls and certainly not dangerous? You school them. You develop their skills, so I gave them a teacher, Professor X, of course. It was the natural thing to do. Instead of disorienting or alienating people who were different from us, I made the X-Men part of the human race, which they were. Possibly radiation. If it is beneficial, may create mutants. They'll save us. They'll save us instead of doing us harm. I felt that if we train the mutants our way, that'll help us, and not only help us, but achieve a measure of growth in their own sense. And so we could all live together. There's the sense of unity that you're talking about from like the racist stuff and everything like that with Jack Kirby. So it makes perfect sense that they were looking for something that, okay, Johnny Storm was young and it took. Well, we need to give them more young people to associate with.
Because they loved it so much.
They did.
Yeah, I forgot Spider-Man came out a few months before X-Men, so Spider-Man was an immediate hit. Again, you have a kid there, so it's like they knew like we want to.
They had plans for it.
Yeah, we want to make this team young, not 3 adults and 1 young teenager, but let's make them all kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's who our readers are. Yeah,
and that's what it was. And so that's where Stan Lee came up with mutants, is that he didn't want to have to try and explain how all these people got their powers and go into the minutia of each and every one of them. They're just mutants. They're just born that way.
That would have been.
And he even says that he's like, I took the coward's way out.
No, but honestly, that ended up becoming great because that ended up adding to a lot of the story. Because if it would have just been accidents like the Hulk, where it's a bomb going off.
How can you blame them? You know, like it happened. Like even like Daredevil. Oh, he got blinded. It's not his fault that he got this way. It was a tragic accident kind of thing.
Yeah, he couldn't have done that. Like, so he may call it the lazy way out, but ultimately it ended up being one of the richest elements of storytelling of the X-Men long term. So
it's great.
Yeah.
So I may have answered this already. My very first real question for you is, how did you come to X-Men? Was it the comic book guy that led you there? Or was there anything else?
I think I had already watched some of the animated series.
Okay.
But I think no, because that didn't come out till later. So
the animated TV show started on October 31st, 1992.
Oh, okay. I thought it was later than that. So I probably watched the animated series first. I'd already read some hand-me-down stuff from my dad. I know I had like a couple Captain America issues, which I always loved him. He had a few things that was hand-me-down, but the X-Men show was big. So that was probably, it was the show is the big one for sure.
The show was the huge one for me. I remember around Halloween of 95 or 96, so I was 10 or about to turn 10 or 11. One of my neighbors whose brother-in-law, someone like that, ran a comic book shop here in Salt Lake. And they closed their doors, but they didn't sell all of their excess comics.
Yeah.
So for the next like 5 or 6 Halloweens, they gave out comics on Halloween.
Yeah.
And I got an X-Men versus Avengers comic. And it followed the X-Men. The whole comic was following the X-Men. It was just one issue, you know. And at the very end of it,
I think it may have been a crossover, not a verse. Versus didn't happen until like 05.
It said versus, and then there's like this giant explosion and everything like that. And then it's like the X-Men are starting to pick themselves up, and there's the Avengers in the background. And I'm like, who the fuck are they? I had no idea who they were. Now, obviously, now I do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, who are they? Those bastards just blew up my X-Men. I mean, there's Jean Grey picking up Cyclops. How dare they? Those fuckers, you know, and everything like that. But I just remember loving the animated series. That's what I lived for on Saturday. And it was the suckiest thing. It was the last cartoon of the day. I don't know if you remember that. It came out at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
I don't remember.
Came on at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and usually my dad was like, all right, it's 10 o'clock, let's go do chores, or we got to go do this. And I'm just like, but Dad, X-Men.
Yeah.
So when I got to watch it, it was rare. So I missed a lot of the show, and I never got to see like the whole thing. And like, wait a minute.
Have you watched it on Disney Plus yet?
I started to, and I haven't finished. But I'm like, wait a minute, why is Xavier walking? Like, what the hell's going on here? Why are there dinosaurs? You know, like, I'd catch an episode here or there and everything like that. So, I'm going to phrase this question very carefully because I know how you are. Who is your favorite of the Brotherhood of Mutants?
Why are you phrasing it that way?
Because we're not having a debate on this show. Not today. We're not doing it. This is talking about the wider X-Men. We're not having that debate yet. So we're not going there.
You know the answer full well.
I do, but our listeners don't.
Here, I'll just say it as boldly as I can. There is no comic book character in existence, past, present, or future, that I like more than Magneto.
That includes Superman.
He is my all-time favorite comic book character. He is one of my all-time favorite characters in all of fiction. I adore him. He's the best.
Okay.
So yes, like not only he's my favorite, Brotherhood of the Mutants, but later on he's a member of the X-Men, and he's in the wider Marvel universe. He like nobody beats him for me. He's my all-time favorite comic book. Period. So. Let there be no doubts.
No doubts about that. Tad's favorite comic book character of all time is Magneto.
Yes.
Okay. Who is your favorite X-Men excluding Magneto? Because I'm not letting you skip the same answer for both.
How dare
X-Men.
He later on he leads the X-Men, for God's sake.
We're not talking about that. You know what I mean when I say who's your favorite X-Men, all right?
It's Colossus.
You like Colossus?
Oh yeah, Colossus is always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a scene in the animated series where he's like on a construction yard and the people come at him with like a Jeep and then he transforms and it just crushes like a fucking beer can. I love it. It's so good. Not that he's even necessarily the most compelling storytelling wise overall, but I've loved him since I was a kid. So yeah, that's where I'd go.
My favorite on the Brotherhood side is Magneto. I find him compelling. I find him interesting and everything like that. Also, his powers, amazing. Like super jealous of the powers and everything like that. Would love to be able to manipulate metal and stuff like that. And
he's one of the higher level mutants.
Yeah, like there is like power degrees and everything like that. I remember getting a book or trading cards or something like that where it explained like the power level.
Yeah,
and it pissed me off because my favorite X-Men didn't have the highest power, and I was like, what the fuck ever? He creates explosions. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I have a couple books. I don't know if any of them are go into that
within reach.
No, I think they're over by you actually.
Oh,
but
hold on.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like I've got 2 Marvel books over in that vicinity somewhere, maybe. But yeah, there's one that's like the entire Marvel history in year by year. That's that one. Then there's another one down there.
Folks.
I think. Yeah, so that one's pretty cool because actually, let me see that.
You want to see that?
That would have actually helped our question earlier when I was talking about years and stuff. But I used to have them over here so I can grab them at random times.
And this one is Marvel Encyclopedia New Edition with an introduction by Stan Lee. Look at that. That is beautiful.
And that one may be the one that actually talks about the power levels.
Let
Maybe.
me bust this open real fast and see what we got here.
So yeah, I actually didn't know you liked Magneto. I guess I don't know who you would have picked Brotherhood wise.
Yeah. That's why we're doing the show. Is even after 20 years, we still surprise each other. Well, I surprise you. You just surprised me with all your horribleness.
Have I influenced you at all, or did you always like Magneto?
No, I always liked Magneto. I always found him compelling and everything like that. Trying to win the war for mutants' safety and stuff like that. It's not like he was like an overly like mustache twirling bad guy. Rob the bank, kind of thing. So, here, I'm going to let you look at this while I talk, because I'm talking about my stuff right now. But my favorite X-Men was Gambit. Dude was smooth as fuck. I don't know why, but I thought he was the coolest guy, especially when you look at the animated show.
I open it randomly, and the Sentinels is the one I landed
This is
on.
why you're evil. It's like you open it to like one of the most evil things in the X-Men universe. Like, holy cow. And that's not an X-Men book either. That is a Marvel book.
Marvel, yeah.
That he opened and everything like that. Carol says she stands Magneto.
Oh, yeah, me too. He is incredible. First Class, I think that's probably why First Class is my favorite. Maybe jumping ahead on your whatever questions you have.
Oh,
but
it's
First Class is number one, and it's because all of the Magneto stuff there.
That's your favorite movie?
Oh, yeah.
That is one of my questions, of which is your favorite movie. I still got to go with my favorite movie is X-Men 2.
Yeah.
I love X-Men 2. I watched it again just a few years ago, and yeah, it holds up, dude. It holds up really, really well. But my favorite X-Men's Gambit. And I just remember them being like, oh, he has a power level of 2. And I'm like, Magneto has 5. Magneto can control magnets, yes, but Gambit can make literal fucking nuclear explosions.
This isn't the one. It talks about their powers. I must be thinking of a book I had when I was younger. Because it had like the dots, a dot scale.
Yeah.
And it'd show high.
I know
or low.
exactly what you're talking about. It might have been your book that I'm thinking of.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so you said Gambit is your favorite X-Men?
Gambit's my favorite X-Men, but a close, like smidge underneath is Wolverine.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like Wolverine, right? I mean, Bub.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's very popular.
He is very popular. Tell me, so you said this a couple times. There was a time where Marvel would, is it still today, where if a comic is struggling, they throw Spider-Man or Wolverine in there?
Yeah, that was always the joke, is if you had something struggling in sales, throw Spider-Man or Wolverine as guest stars, and that'll boost their sales. So, in this day and age, I don't know if that's still the same thing. The MCU may have recalculated that entire thing, but yeah, that's Wolverine and Spider-Man are certainly the top most popular for sure.
Have you seen the most recent X-Men movie? That was my next question.
I've seen them all. Yeah, which one?
The New Mutants.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I actually never saw that one because it never actually came to theaters. It finally hit on like streaming, and it had horrible reviews. And after like 2.5 years of waiting for it to come out, finally, and then it just hit streaming, it breezed by me. I think did it come out in 2020?
Yes,
when they finally dropped it on streaming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was supposed to come out like 2018 or something like that. So,
it is the lowest grossing X-Men movie, and it's by a considerable margin. But also next to it is just as bad, almost. Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
I think you told me never to watch that one.
I don't know if I would have said never watch it, but it was largely forgettable. So here's the irritating thing.
Okay.
It's doing the Phoenix shit again.
Which is one of the best stories.
It is, but X-Men 3 failed pretty hard at doing that.
Sure did.
Here, and I don't like to badmouth people, but here's the problem.
Okay.
Simon Kinberg was a big creative part behind X-Men 3.
Okay.
Simon Kinberg was also one of the primary people behind X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Ah.
He didn't learn many lessons.
No.
I'm like, why would you let the same fucking guy do the same fucking story in a movie, for God's sake? Get somebody else in there. Because, I like him too, actually. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, no, that was not great.
All right, so there are a bunch of X-Men films. I forgot to count how many there are. But if you had to say what the highest grossing X-Men film is. Now,
I'm trying to see what the count is 13 X-Men films.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Wait a minute.
That's a lot.
This list does have all 13. Okay.
That is nuts.
I do not think that with 3 guesses you're going to guess the top grossing film in the X-Men pantheon.
Okay, here's the caveat. Deadpool is not X-Men.
Okay. According to this, it is.
It is not. Bullshit. That is they keep trying to loop him in because Fox owned them both, and then they crossed him over a little bit. But it's like never in the history of anything has he been considered an X-Men character.
Okay.
So, no. Absolutely.
Even though he has X-Men in his movies.
No, yeah, that doesn't make it. No. It'd be like if Spider-Man was owned by Fox too, and they put freaking Wolverine in all his movies. That you don't then call Spider-Man an X-Men. Like it just that's kind of the equivalent.
But Deadpool joins the X-Men.
No,
he does in X-Men too. He does.
Absolutely not.
So you're just going to ignore that, but you're okay with saying Magneto's an X-Men.
No, he actually becomes part of the team.
So does Deadpool in X-Men 2. He's literally a trainee for the X-Men.
And also, Magneto,
living in the
Magneto
mansion.
is from pretty much the beginning of time, has been in the X-Men series.
Oh, so if he's not historically in it, then he's never going to...
Deadpool's his own thing.
If they wrote a comic where Deadpool legitimately joined the X-Men, would you still say no?
I mean...
Does it have to be in the comics for you to accept it? I know you're kind of anti-Deadpool.
No, I'm not. It just comes down to, like, he's... maybe they try to loop him in there because X-Men sales were sagging. And I was like, oh, well, what interesting thing we could do? Let's throw Deadpool in there. He's not an X-Men, for God's sake. Now, is he in the mind of a lot of people because of the way they've done the movies? They probably put him in there, but no, absolutely not. Logan didn't do Buku. I know it was like critically acclaimed, but I don't think that one actually did high box office, did it?
Second highest grossing X-Men film of all... Third highest grossing X-Men film of all time.
So it actually did do... for some reason, I just have no memory.
Because number 1 and 2 are Deadpool.
Yeah.
Deadpool number 1 grossed 363. I'm just looking at U.S. and Canada. Deadpool did 363 million, and Deadpool 2 did 324 million. No X-Men movie by itself has broken 300 in the U.S.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of the high-end X-Men movies were so far back that I think you have to adjust for inflation.
Sure.
Because I'd be curious what like the original couple X-Men and even X-Men 3 did fucking buku. Because what I've always said, right, is a lot of times in a series, the next movie is box office is dependent on the last movie. So it's like X-Men 2 was fucking incredible. It was buku. So then X-Men 3 reaps that benefit, and they get a shitload of people to go see it, and they all realize like, oh man, this movie isn't as good as 2.
Yeah. Highest grossing X-Men movie minus Deadpool because Tad's against Deadpool again.
No, it's because he's not an X-Men.
Is X-Men Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past.
No, I'm sorry. X-Men The Last Stand is 1 million higher than it.
Yeah, because
I'm only looking at the U.S. and Canada because worldwide I feel like that's where it gets into what you're talking about because Days of Future Past did $234 million. The Last Stand did $234 million in the U.S. and Canada. In other territories, it did $226 million. But when you look at X-Men Days of Future Past, $233 million domestic and $512 million in other territories. This is because China became a huge market.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing you have to look at with this is that China became huge. And that's one of the reasons why Deadpool did so well is that Deadpool did $782 million. Deadpool 2 did $785 million. But over half of that is other territories. So
I have the beta of the Skynet, AI on Google. So I did is Deadpool and X-Men. Deadpool has never been a core member of the X-Men, though he has been part of the team on several occasions.
See?
And has also been a rival of the X-Men. Deadpool is a mutate and not a mutant. Okay. So he's not even a mutant, for God's sake.
Yeah, but he's still an X-Men.
And has several strong ties to some mutants. And then down below the actual Google answer, he is not generally considered a part of the X-Men. He does and did technically have a membership in the group and is very much an X-Men adjacent. But yeah, he is not. Like, as much as Fox would love to try to merge those things together, it's not. That's a Fox invention.
I mean, Deadpool 3 has Wolverine and Deadpool. So it's tied together.
Yeah,
They're married.
No.
Yeah.
We'll never accept that.
Do you have a favorite comic run for X-Men? I've never read any X-Men comics ever. So if you were going to recommend me to read a X-Men comic run, do you have one?
Avengers versus X-Men is pretty cool. There's some prerequisites to get into that though. The House of M is really great. Oh man. You're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think of some of the others I've read. It's been probably a year since I've really dove heavily into the Marvel app. I've been hitting the DC app so much more.
Mm-hmm. Doing some Superman reading.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, while I'm thinking, Carol says Logan was an awesome movie. Side note: I have been given the opportunity to name both of my grandchildren and name my granddaughter Logan because I'm a nerd. So X-Men related. That's awesome. I love the spirit of that. Yeah, I'd have to think probably a little bit longer on that, just because it's so not fresh in my mind. But there is definitely some really cool runs. There is also the one I think I've told you about, where it is legitimately there's almost nothing actually X-Men related. It is entirely Magneto's Holocaust experience.
Yeah,
that's a pretty killer book.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, there's some good stuff for sure. Yeah.
So we mentioned favorite film. But I want you to give me your take on the rest of the films. So we got the original X-Men that came out in 2000.
Loved it, yeah.
The X-Men.
That was the first of the newest era of Marvel, because Spider-Man didn't come out until... I know they're not connected, but it's like Spider-Man came out in
01.
2?
Wasn't it 01? Right after...
No, because the trailer came out right after 9/11, because the original trailer had the World Trade Center. So it's 2002. So yeah, X-Men had it beat by 2 years. So yeah, 2000. I love the first X-Men. Back in the day, I used to kind of look down on it because it wasn't as good as 2. But in retrospect and watching it the last 5 or 6 years, I think the first movie is pretty legit. And I have some issues with it, but I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, 2002.
I would draw a line and say watch it or don't watch it for X-Men movies, and X-Men is heavily on the watch it side.
Okay. X2, obviously. I know you liked that one. We both love that
That
movie.
used to be the gold standard for comic book movies. That used to be the one you measured all comic book movies against. It was fucking incredible top to bottom.
And we got a director change going into X-Men The Last Stand, which neither one of us were a fan of.
Because of Superman.
Yep. Did Superman Returns, right?
Blame Superman for that one.
Damn it, Superman, that's why we can't have nice things.
I have actually been reevaluating X-Men 3 a little bit. I've watched a couple reaction videos, some people I generally follow. I don't think it's as bad as I would have said back in the day. I still think it's really close to the line. If it is, I would maybe say it's like a freaking nucleus cell into the watch it side.
Okay. Is that the first time we see Beast as The Last Stand? Kelsey Grammer, right?
Yes.
He's not in the first two.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just...
I loved him as Beast.
Yeah, it's just Nightcrawler in the second one.
Which, by the way, Nightcrawler's attack on the president, one of the greatest scenes in comics history. I'll say it.
To me, I love Wolverine's just rampage in the mansion when they're going.
On the assault.
With Stryker's when Stryker's people are coming into the house. When he just goes absolutely fucking ape shit.
The first time we see Wolverine go absolute ape shit.
Yeah, just hacking people apart and stuff. Like all these kids watching in horror as he's just shredding people. I love it. It's so good.
First time we see Colossus suit up right there.
Yeah.
We see him in 3, don't we?
He gets a little bit more in 3, yeah. And then they add Angel, and so I would have said not watch if we would have had this episode 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But literally in the last couple months, there was a few people that I watch reaction videos that watch X3, and it was funny because at the end of it, they didn't hate it, and I'm like, am I just being overly critical because of how I felt back then? And as I watch just the clips you see from the reactions, I'm like, this movie is still not as good as 1 or 2, but it's not.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
It's not as bad as I think I was making it out to be back in the day. So I'm actually going to rewatch it probably. I was thinking about rewatching just not all, but a chunk of the X-Men movies, and especially that original trilogy would be interesting.
I think the biggest problem that I had with The Last Stand, and I can remember us having this discussion.
Rogue?
No.
Oh.
Rogue
taking the cure is one that offends a lot of people.
I understand why that Rogue took the cure.
Yeah.
I can separate Rogue from the animated series from that Rogue. That Rogue doesn't have those powers. She doesn't have all the powers that the Rogue in the animated series gets and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me is that I feel like it's one of those ones. You've talked about this. Comic book movies cannot have too many bad guys.
Because The Cure could have been its own trilogy, let alone
the problem is
its own movie.
Then they tried to mesh in the Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that's where
the
I feel like
problem.
the problem is that the movie is oversaturated.
Yes.
Is that we're dealing with Dark Phoenix. Cyclops dies, for God's sakes, in this movie. And it's
Xavier
just kind of
dies.
like, Xavier dies. And then it's like, oh, yeah, by the way, all mutants are probably going to get cured. It's like, pick one.
Yeah.
Both of those are amazing stories, but pick one.
Pick one, for God's sake.
Let's do one.
Also, another bit of trivia. Now you're more privy to things.
Yeah.
You know where Rogue gets her powers, right?
She steals them from someone. I don't remember who. Is it Captain Marvel?
It is.
It is Captain Marvel? Ha-ha.
Gets the strength and the flight from that.
Yeah.
I may have told you that.
Invulnerability, too.
I probably would have told you that way back in the day, but you probably would have been like, Captain
Who?
Marvel, who? But now you actually know who Captain Marvel is. So
Carol
yeah.
Danvers.
That's where Rogue gets her. She holds on to her too long, and it ends up becoming like a permanent.
It puts her into a coma.
Yeah, it pretty much almost kills her, if not almost as close to killing.
She
as you can
recovers
get.
later and still has her powers, right?
But she keeps them permanent.
Rogue is permanently changed by it.
Yeah. So that's a fun thing nowadays because people actually, it's kind of like Storm marries Black Panther.
Yeah. Right.
Now people actually appreciate that more because they know who Black Panther is.
Exactly.
So,
how did you feel about the Wolverine movies? There's 2 of them.
don't watch.
No?
I'm not a fan of either.
Okay.
Personally, again, I kind of redefined how you're asking it and just said I'm drawing a line.
No, I like this.
Watch
I like
it or
this.
don't watch it.
It's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's
Yeah,
simple. We don't have to go too far.
The
into
first
it.
one's maybe one of the worst things they've ever done in this franchise. The second one's nowhere near as bad, but I don't know if it's really worth the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't live up to who Wolverine is. Like, Wolverine is one of the most popular characters in comic book history. Like, his movies should be fucking bangers. Like, you need to go all out. His movies need to be great. And I just don't think The Wolverine was as good as it could have been.
And then X-Men Origins Wolverine.
The original one?
That's the original one.
Yeah, it's
That's
potentially the worst thing they've ever done.
That's the one where they
Yeah.
Deadpool.
Yeah. That one.
That hurts so many people.
Wasn't that one? Was that one on, or was it the Wolverine with Liev Schreiber?
The Wolverine.
The Wolverine. That's what I thought. Because I love that.
Pretty sure.
I love his casting as, which I'll always think of him as Cotton Weary from Scream. But yeah, I love him as Sabretooth. That was a pretty cool
cast. Oh no, maybe I might have it wrong.
Oh, it is X-Men Origins Wolverine.
It is X-Men Origins.
Maybe that's the only redeeming quality of that movie.
All right.
Yeah, not a super fan of either of those 2 movies.
And then we got the 2 reboots, I should say. X-Men First Class and X-Men's Days of
First
Future
Class
Past.
is the best movie that X-Men's ever done.
That's the best movie X-Men's ever done.
In my opinion, yes. That movie is a fucking banger.
I'm going to disagree with you.
That movie is a fucking banger, man.
It is a good movie.
And I actually just recently watched, again, because I have people I'm watching, and people are guiding them through MCU stuff.
Sure.
But they're taking turns into Spider-Man and X-Men because obvious reasons of what we've seen in the last year and a half or so. And so I've seen, and this movie, First Class, far and away, it is my favorite movie. And I will say I'm biased. Magneto, originally that was being developed as a Magneto standalone movie.
And then
it was going to be X-Men Origins Magneto. And they changed it, but there's still a heavy emphasis on Magneto.
It's about Magneto. He's the main character.
Yeah.
So Xavier's a side character and everything like that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Fassbender?
Oh, I always tell people I'm like one of the most fucking spoiled motherfuckers. My favorite comic book character of all time has been played by Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender. Like, find me a better 1-2 punch, man. Like,
where it's been played by different characters.
2 different.
I mean, if we wanted to be particular, Hugh Jackman played Logan. So
yeah, but give me another one, and
we'll see what happens with the new one. Yeah, exactly. Then we'll talk.
Have it be anywhere close to what those 2 have done for my boy.
How do you feel about McAvoy?
I love
Xavier.
him. Yeah, I love him. Yeah, I mean, Patrick Stewart is the ultimate. That's probably one of the most like idiot-proof. Like, you cannot fuck that casting up. In fact, the story, whether it's legitimate or whether it's apocryphal, is that they were pitching him on the movie, and I'm not really interested. And they showed him a comic, and they're like, well, why are they taking my likeness?
Yeah,
I haven't agreed to the movie. Why are they ripping me off to put.
they're like, that's from 1967.
Yeah, they're like, no, this. Yeah, and then he was just like, oh my god, and took the role. So.
I was made for this.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any more of a no duck casting in the history of film. Even like that's just.
Yeah.
He is Xavier, for God's. When I watched it growing up, I remember thinking like, "Oh, Captain Picard." It's kind of like Captain Picard. Like I had those thoughts. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what about X-Men Apocalypse? You talked about Days of Future Past, but how do you feel about Apocalypse?
Absolutely don't watch.
No, sorry. First Class. Talk to me about Days of Future
Past.
That's what I meant.
I like that one. That one's not too bad. It's not as good as First Class, not as good as 2, but I think it's kind of in that 1 range. Like it's decent. Kind of that's where they started to tie the two universes together. They have both Fassbender and
Ian
McKellen, and as well as the Xavier side.
Xavier and McAvoy.
No, Picard and McAvoy. You said Xavier and McAvoy.
Oh, yeah, Stewart and McAvoy. Sorry. He is Xavier. I'm sorry. We just finished talking about this. I thought we were on the same page.
He'll always be Picard to me. The Days of Future Past I enjoyed. That's actually another really good run, comic book wise.
Days of Future Past?
Yeah, that's a really good.
It's Kitty Pryde that goes back instead of Logan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Apocalypse you didn't like.
It's terrible.
Not a good movie.
Terrible. That one's giving some competition to X-Men Origins Wolverine for worst in the franchise. That was bad. Apocalypse was such a good fucking character in like the cartoons and stuff back and the comics.
They also got an amazing actor to play him too.
And Oscar Isaac. And it's like, how the fuck do you fuck up Apocalypse and Oscar Isaac in the same goddamn role? Like
same movie.
How do you? Well, it's the same role. It's like it's one character, like a really great character, a really great actor. You're merging them together, and it's a total dog shit thing.
Gotcha.
Like, how do you do that?
And then we come to the. We already talked about Dark Phoenix that you didn't like, and then we're skipping the Deadpool movies because they're not X-Men, and you never watched the New Mutants. So we're coming to the last one, and this is where I'm going.
I did enjoy the Deadpool movies though, as a side tangent outside of the X-Men realm. I have enjoyed both Deadpool movies.
Okay,
I have.
Even though you don't like Deadpool,
I just think he's a little bit overrated.
You don't like him.
No, I wouldn't say that. I don't like Cyclops. There's one I don't like.
You don't like Cyclops?
Oh,
huh?
no.
Go on.
I've never liked him. He just annoys the fuck out of me. I don't know what it is. I love Superman as the big blue Boy Scout.
I was waiting for you to dig the hole because I'm going to be like, wait a minute. Cyclops is the Superman of the X-Men. Wolverine is the Batman of the X-Men. I like Wolverine. I like Batman, but you don't like Cyclops.
You know what it is? He aligns with my least favorite turtle, Leonardo. He's just the Leonardo. It's boring. It's just
that's what Superman would be. Superman would be Leonardo. Yes, Batman would be Raphael. I'm going to do what I need to do to get what I want.
No, I don't know why I've never, even as a kid, I just never liked him.
This is so confusing, Pat. Do you understand how confusing it is for everyone to not understand your logic here? It's so confusing.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I will say there is way more going on with Superman than there is with Cyclops. You know, so there's way more interesting stuff going on there. With Cyclops, he's like, I just don't see anything with him until he goes villainous in the more modern era.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he goes bad guy. He ends up being.
Is he actually interesting?
Yeah, that actually adds more interest into it.
I think that's the reason why I hated Cyclops.
Yeah.
The reason why is I loved Wolverine. I wanted him to get the girl, that kind of thing. But also this is really stupid, okay? We, both of us, did not exactly
I'm also
grow
getting
up.
a slander call out here in the chat.
Are you getting slander call out?
I think because I said Deadpool's overrated.
No, that's that's her favorite comic book character. So
okay, and here's the thing: is I will say Deadpool has been overrated long before any movies came out. I just think people make way too much out of him, and he's not as good as people make him out to be. In my opinion, I don't find him as fascinating as other people do. I will say the movies have come along and actually brought me around on Deadpool way more than I ever would have been back in the day.
And how much of that was because of Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, I mean, he's perfect for the role. Hey, absolutely. Like he's
you said too much there. Ryan Reynolds is perfect. That's where you're supposed to stop. It's right there. Love you, Ryan.
No, but yeah, no. I so like I said, like yeah, but yeah. That's that aside. What were you saying before I interrupted you?
The biggest problem I had with Cyclops, Scott Summers, is that neither one of us grew up rich. Middle class, lower middle class maybe is where I would put us. We live on the proverbial other side of the train tracks from the rich, doty side of Salt Lake Valley here in Utah.
Yeah.
And I will say Scott Summers feels like a fucker from the other side of the valley. Does he not feel like he should have gone to a fucking prep school and his parents accept him for being a mutant? He never has any family drama. He never gets he has a trust waiting for him, and he drives a Jeep, and he just wears the cool sunglasses. He feels like a douchebag.
For me, I don't hold that same thing because I love Angel, and he is actually like white collar, like rich toity family.
Yeah, but he's shunned by his dad, right?
Yeah. There's
like that I can understand. Like the rich kid who has everything, but then his parents are like, "You're a freak, get out," and he has nowhere to go, so he becomes a mutant and goes to Xavier School. I feel like Scott Summers' parents dropped him off at Xavier Schools, kissed him on the cheek, and said, "Have fun, honey.
Have fun at mutant camp.
Yeah, have fun at mutant camp. We'll pick you up next summer." And just like I feel like he's such a douchebag. And that's just how he feels to me.
And I guess for me, what it comes down to is it's even more so as I look at it from the outside as like a storytelling thing. And to me, the ultimate sin in any kind of thing, whether it's books, movies, any video games, anything, the number one cardinal sin in all of it is being boring. And to me, he is a boring fucking character.
Exactly. He is a douchebag he's not actually a bad guy. If he was a bad guy, he might be somewhat interesting.
Yeah.
Like the Cobra Kai guy in the first Karate Kid.
Yeah.
That is Scott Summers in Karate Kid. That's what Scott Summers should have been. But imagine him being Daniel-san's a buddy at the dojo that he's training at.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be so boring.
Yeah.
He's just an asshole.
Yeah,
that's Scott Summers for me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
That's the reason why I don't like Scott Summers.
So when he got blown up in X-Men 3, I was like, good riddance.
Bye.
I won't miss you.
Yeah.
I actually didn't like that actor for a longest time either.
Because of that?
Because of Cyclops, yeah. And then I think he actually won me over a tiny bit in Superman Returns.
He was really good.
And then he's fucking killed it. I mean, he was good in Sonic and even The Stand. I didn't necessarily care for that.
He's amazing in Sonic.
He did great in The Stand. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, go on. What else do you got?
We
just shit on Cyclops for a bit.
I can do it longer.
We could do a whole episode.
Do you have anyone like that just absolutely drives you wild in the X-Men? I guess this is a spur of the moment question, but you got under my skin with Cyclops. He rubs me the wrong. Is there any character like that in X-Men that you're just like, fuck you?
Carol's got an R.I.P. Scott in the chat. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think.
Are there any that you're just like, God, that's a dumb power? Like this is stupid.
Maybe the punk rock side of me. I've never been into Gambit.
Okay.
I think his powers are so low and so weak that I'm just like, and the Cajun charm just doesn't get to me. I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't know. This is way before I knew you, so it's not like I'm trying to shit on your boy.
I'm gonna stop you. He has said this from day one.
Yeah,
because X-Men came out when we became friends. We became friends in 2001. So X2 was one of the first movies we saw together. And I will say, I'm like, man, I'm really hoping they bring Gambit. He's like, God, Gambit is so stupid. So no one come at Tad saying he's just trying to badmouth my boy that I love. He has had this opinion for over 20 years.
Yeah,
go.
I've just never been a big fan of him in the cartoon or the comics, whatever. I get why people like him. I can see the appeal. It's just not for me.
He's a badass.
Like he just I don't know.
Dude, he blows shit up. Like, what's more to want? I mean, come on.
Oh man.
Tad, I'm going to be very disappointed if you answer this no. I'm going to be very disappointed because I reminded you. Did you watch the trailer for the Wolverine game?
Yes. It's only like 40 seconds long.
Okay, good. I told you it was just a teaser trailer. I told you to watch it, and you did. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Tad, thank you.
Is that the second round of applause I've got
in this episode? Like, hey, all right, Tad. You know what? Even you get a little.
Excellent.
Well done, sir. What'd you think?
Looks fun. I mean, Insomniac
made the Marvel Spider-Man game.
Yeah,
which I am currently replaying.
That was more of a seller to me. I don't pre-order things, but if I were to pre-order things, I would have pre-ordered it just because it said Insomniac.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting though because I get what Wolverine is. I don't know. It's not as like easily compelling as Spider-Man. Like you're saying, hey, I'm gonna give you Manhattan, and you're gonna be Spider-Man. Like that just makes sense. But it's like with Wolverine, it's like I don't know like what kind of map are you giving me? Like how am I getting around? I get that like
he doesn't have web slinging.
I know it's kind of like the Batman and Spider-Man both had those areas where you get into like the room with 40 guys and you've got like. I can't wait to get into one of those rooms as Wolverine and just absolutely fucking destroy people. But I guess there's some things I'd be curious as to how it's going to happen. Like, am I just going to ride a motorcycle the whole time?
That'd be cool.
I don't know.
I'd be cool with that. Spencer has joined us and says busy day, but had to stop by for the tail end. Still playing Spider-Man Remastered. Most recent watches were Across the Spider-Verse and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Both were amazing and just started listening to The Wolves. Wolves of the Calla by Stephen King.
Awesome.
He says Wolves of the Calla for the upteenth time. Cheers to all. So I did watch the trailer when it dropped back when that was months ago.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. Insomniac has my love.
Oh yeah.
I'm severely bummed that I have switched to PC gaming, so I can't play Spider-Man 2 when it comes out. I gotta wait for the PC port for it.
PS5s are really easy to find now.
Yeah, but I don't have $600 to. If I'm gonna spend $600, it's gonna be upgrading or saving for a new computer. I am not doing the duality anymore. I am done. I'm actually going to be looking at selling my PlayStation and my Xbox. I don't use them. I'm done. I am a PC gamer, sir. You will not convince me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ted. I'm sorry.
All I can say is there are no absolutes with the Jedi, sir.
You know that's not how that works.
Sure it is.
No.
What else? Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm not going to hold my breath because I'm guessing that game's probably quite a ways away.
Okay.
Spider-Man 2 is about to come out and it's been in the works for ages, so I just don't know when that one's actually supposed to drop. Even if they have a release date today, I would guess that it's at least 12 months too soon from when we'll actually see the game come out. So
wow. I'm a little disappointed in myself for not researching this a little bit further, but I just Googled Wolverine game release date just to see what we got. Insomniac.games/game/Marvels-Wolverine has 2 images, a brief a 2-sentence description, and then it says release date TBD, platforms PS5, and that is fucking it on their website.
So at least they haven't given a date yet, because if they would have, like I said, I wouldn't have even believed it. I would have said, okay, if they said like September 2025, I would have been like, all right, it'll be 2026 before you see it. It's just, that's the way it works, man.
It has.
I've been around the block a few times. The video games, how often does a video game announce a release date early on and it actually holds? It is so rare, dude. How often?
I'm just going to say no.
How often is it where it's just like, oh, we just really want to make sure we put out the best quality game.
Yep.
So we've got to delay it 6 months or a year. It's just that is such a norm that I think every like game maker probably has like a form on their computer that's just like a form letter that they just type the name in and they just like send it out and release it as like we're delaying this game 6 to 12 months.
We're delaying it. Fill in date.
Yeah.
From this date to this date, pick option, and then it has like 3 drop down options where it's like, want to make best product, have to finish the game, want to do our best work. It autofills for you.
Seriously, or maybe they have an AI now that writes them. It's always
that's possible.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 has only had one release date, hasn't it? I think they just barely announced that, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they probably just
in July.
They probably just don't pin themselves to release dates.
Maybe that's what
my
it is.
guess. Yeah.
So maybe it comes out in 2024.
Kind of like Rockstar's that way. They almost never put a release date out until they're
ready to go.
Until they know they're ready,
and they're only a few months away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, nope, yeah, it's coming out in July, and it's May.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Oh, okay. So on the subject of video games, any X-Men video games you're a fan of?
The old arcade.
The button smasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One that would be at like classic skating or whatever.
Dude,
it's like there was the Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and X-Men. Those three arcades just
dude, Turtles in Time.
Those
I love that
those
game.
3 arcades were absolute bangers.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what did I just say? Turtles,
Simpsons.
Okay,
Turtles.
I want to make sure I didn't miss the Simpsons. Yeah, the Simpsons, Turtles, and
Simpsons.
X-Men. Those
You
3
did.
are. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I'm not even sure if there are other video games.
I should have looked this up again. I should have looked this up. This is a thought that I had literally this afternoon.
Shame. Shame.
I feel like I earned that one. X-Men games.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Holy crap, there's a bunch of... What the fuck? Where did all these games come from?
Spencer agrees with my 3 picks for arcade games.
They're great.
All-timers.
X-Men, Spider-Man, X-Men Arcades Revenge.
I think because the thing is the X-Men movies are all coming out in the early 2000s, a lot of them were. So you probably had a lot of the stupid hack and slash cheap games like the Lord of the Rings where they just like ported some really basic game and just threw it out there as a tie-in.
X-Men versus
product.
Street Fighter.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those. Yeah, for sure. Now, I will say, I know it can never really happen, especially now that it's gotten even more solidified in studios. Okay. But for the longest time, since I've been a kid and those have come out, because you have the Capcom, But, yeah, you have the Capcom, Marvel, all that kind of stuff, and you have the X-Men versus who was it?
Street Fighter.
Can you not tell me?
Which is Capcom?
Is it not more obvious? Can you imagine X-Men in Mortal Kombat?
I mean,
does that not fit? I mean, because you got Street Fighter is way more tame. You don't have blood. You don't have fatalities. Does DC not fit better with that? Where X-Men fits way better with? Because telling me that Wolverine in Mortal Kombat would not be incredible. You telling me Magneto in just? I've said this for freaking
picks up 2 steel doors and just
for decades. It's like, and this is even before the modern era of like all these guest stars. But I've always said like, why is Mortal Kombat not going against X-Men? That would be one of the coolest fucking games. And Marvel would be cool with like, hey, let's like let you go fucking nuts. You can go rated M. This game can be a Mortal Kombat game.
They're probably going to be doing rated M for Wolverine is what it sounds like from the hints that they've said.
It should be.
I mean, how do you have it if you don't?
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing is how can Wolverine be not rated M? Doesn't look like there's been a ton of video games that are beyond what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Game Boy Color, GameCube, but canceled games. There was an X-Woman game canceled, X-Men Mind Games. So anyway, it doesn't look like X-Men has been tapped for video games.
But honestly, a lot of comic books haven't. There've only been a couple comic book games that have and they've been really successful, but it's like
Batman and Spider-Man are the 2 that come to my mind.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a lot of like chance for a lot of other comic book things to like really like tap that right studio to get like a genius game like those made. So
Spencer also says Soul Calibur and Area 51 for arcade games. Dude, the Smiths by my house, the grocery store here in Utah, the Smiths by my house had Area 51. I was the top like 6 people.
All right, see you, Carol. Sorry, she just said she has to go.
Oh, bye, Carol.
Yep, see you in a fortnight.
Went through the keyhole in 2 weeks on the other one. We don't know what we're going to do in 2 weeks for this one. We're going to find that out later, aren't we?
Yes, indeed.
You remember to pick something, unlike me. Yeah. I always forget.
Not only that, but I am coming up with a new thing.
Oh, yeah?
I might have a soundbite to lead into the announcement. I'm going to start doing that, which means you got to make your picks
earlier. Got it. So you can get a soundbite.
Yeah.
Okay. We got about a little over 10 minutes. And I wanted to save this question for last because I am going to sit back and listen to the amazing Tad tell me how. Well, first, I got to ask you a question. X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yay or nay?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. I don't know how.
No. Yay or nay? Should they be in the MCU?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're going to be. So.
But that's not what I'm asking. Should they be?
Yeah.
This almost was your closing arguments question.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that the debate about maybe the MCU getting unwieldy is out the window because I think we're already crossed that Rubicon type thing. Also,
that's the big thing
there's been a lot.
Online.
There's been a lot of the MCU old school stalwarts that aren't really around anymore. Tony Stark is gone. I don't know if we're going to see Captain America anymore. So I think you're seeing kind of the rotation a little bit. You're seeing people kind of being phased out. Guardians are likely done for good. So I do think that there's room, but I think the concern I have is not necessarily the MCU is like, hey, like what does Bart say when he's in the Statue of Liberty? Beat it, country's full. I don't think we're there with the MCU. I think the only concern is just how fucking big the X-Men can potentially be.
Right.
Like, it's fucking massive. And
that's my question, because when I was writing stuff down, I typed in X-Men news and stuff like that, and I apologize. I totally accidentally skipped a question here.
Oh.
And I want to go back to it real fast. X-Men 97.
Oh, I'm excited. I mean, it's just I want to go rewatch the original cartoon.
Do you know when that's supposed to come out? There's not a release date.
Next year?
There's not a release date given, but do you know when it was initially announced to come out?
I think this year.
Fall of this
originally.
year. Has it been delayed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be next year.
Okay.
I think.
So we don't have anything. We can talk about that at a later time then. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So back to what we were talking about. Sorry for that tangent there. I know we're famous for it, but I did not want to go without talking about the new X-Men 97 series, which, if anyone doesn't know, the original X-Men animated series that was my introduction to X-Men, was one of Tad's favorite things about X-Men.
I think anyone under the age of 40, it's pretty universal.
Like the soundbite today was from the theme from the X-Men,
and they've alluded
series.
to that in the live action movies. There's been a few times where that has been. I mean, it was in Doctor Strange, for God's sake. That was what they played when Xavier's like classic actual wheelchair came
rolling in,
not just one that's normal. No, it was the
what do they call you, Wills?
No, it was the chair from the animated series and the comics. So,
but yeah, I'm super stoked for it because it's a sequel to the original. I think I've watched most of it. I think I actually borrowed your DVDs. I think you had them on DVD at one point.
I had some. I don't think I ever got the whole collection.
Oh, I actually think I own some of them too. But yeah, I watched a lot on the
They
DVD.
came and went on DVD so fast. It
was hard to get.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to buy them all.
But they are all on Disney Plus, the original animated series.
Yes.
So there is a new animated series. It is picking up where the other one left off with the original show creators, writers, actors, all the people that
everyone.
they could get. And it's a sequel. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep telling the same stories and continuing the storylines from that animated series. So amazing.
Yeah.
But MCU, back to the MCU, X-Men in the MCU. I am torn because realizing how big the X-Men has me, yes, it is. Superhero fatigue is not a thing for me and you.
No.
It's not. We're looking forward to all Marvel movies.
I'm going to pause you in one thing
ahead.
to say, though. There's a lot of people that are doubting that Feige still has control the way... Not that he's got control taken from him, but that maybe the wheels jittering a bit. And I can't say I completely disagree as much as I did a year ago. I don't know if Feige's...
Disagree... Oh, now, hold on. Disagree with Feige losing control or disagree that Feige has lost control?
I'm saying that I don't know if Feige is doing as well as he did early on.
Okay.
And there's nothing I've really seen that I've necessarily hated, but we're not seeing the same level of stuff. And I'm not even feeling like the connective tissue, and maybe that's still to come, but it just feels like there was more connective tissue in like phase 2, which is kind of the equivalent of what we're at now.
Yep.
Phase 2 is very there was the sinew that connected the muscles of the two, phase 1 and phase 3, which are the big ones. And so maybe that's where we're at now, where we've now moved into phase 5. So we should, this will be the truth. But some doubts about maybe if Feige is overwhelmed, because that's what I think it comes down to.
A vote of no confidence?
Has he got so much going he can't keep all the plates spinning? I'm starting to at least listen to those because I'm not seeing the coming together yet. And so, yeah.
So with that, if Feige came to you and said, man, I am feeling overwhelmed. I'm having a hard time keeping all the plates spinning in your analogy and everything like that. And he says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave it up to you. Should I roll the X-Men into the MCU and bring people on to help me run it? Or should I give the X-Men to you or, someone that can do it justice and have it in its own universe? Which would you pick?
I think you got to roll it in because I do think that the MCU it feels like the shelves are bare a little bit. It feels like with everyone that they've rolled out of it all now, and I know they said like, Peter Quills will be back. It doesn't matter. The Guardians aren't there. James Gunn's Guardians is not. Yeah, Guardians there. James Gunn is gone. I almost don't want to see him again because I don't know if it's going to be
Peter Quill
what it should be. Yeah. I mean, there's some people that even complain about Infinity War and Endgame that the Guardians didn't feel right in those movies because James Gunn wasn't as involved with those as he was with his own movies. I don't buy that. I don't necessarily have a problem with them, but I could see kind of where people are coming from.
Sure.
So, so you've lost the Guardians, you've lost Captain America. guess you technically haven't lost Thor, but he seems like he's so contingent on he'll work as long as Taika Waititi's involved. Captain America, I mean, just you've got a new Captain America, but it just feels like there's a lot of new blood, which I think is generally kind of how comics feel. But it's like, would this not be the perfect time to inject some very well-known blood into this universe?
Some
where it's
mutant
like,
genes?
yeah, you're going to have different actors, but it's
Sure.
like, how much is this universe going to gain by getting Wolverine in this universe?
Oh yeah.
You know.
See, now that's where the question comes up for me is, do we want the full X-Men pantheon, or do we want to do something where Wolverine comes in?
I think you do not, because I think it's an in between. You can't do the full pantheon. You can't go like, here's 300 characters. That's the entire pantheon of X-Men. But can you go like, what's the biggest the Avengers we've seen? Maybe 8 people or so. If you did something like that, where it's like,
I mean, Endgame had a lot more than 8 people, but
the actual Avengers that are there.
Hey, Captain America says Avengers assemble, and they're there. I'm sorry.
Howard the Duck is not an Avenger, sir.
He fought at the battle. How can you say that? You telling me Ant-Man's not an Avenger?
Yeah, he was granted Avenger.
War Machine?
He's
Drax? Spider-Man?
Yeah, he was knighted as an Avenger.
By Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So you have to be knighted in order to be an Avenger. Show me where Doctor Strange was knighted.
Well, I think he just took over because old Tony.
I don't think he ever joined the Avengers. I think he helped out, but did he ever fight with the Avengers aside from Endgame and Infinity War?
A question could be made that he's not an Avenger because he does also have ties to larger things than the Avengers.
I think the largest we saw of the Avengers is Endgame. I think they're all Avengers. At that moment when Captain America says Avengers assemble, that's him knighting all those motherfuckers. And if there's anyone that can knight people in time of crisis, it's the first Avenger. That's Captain America, especially when he's wielding the hammer. All right, all Avengers.
I'd say keep it to like an 8 is even flabby, but I would start with like.
No, I get what you're saying. Like Ultron is probably where we saw the most Avengers, right?
Yeah, and I would say kind of shoot for an X-Men in that vein. But also because I guess we are also injecting the Fantastic Four as well. So
yeah, we're getting a bunch.
There is a lot of start, but I think that like. Again, I still have a lot of faith and hope in Feige. I still think that he probably does have a plan. I'm just letting some doubts creep in because we went through all of Phase 4 and it just feels like there's nothing that's like clicked as a coagulation. It feels
give
like
me something that clicks together.
Yeah, just give me that moment.
Where's that hammer showing up in the end of Iron Man 2 moment?
Yeah. Yeah, or
we don't have that yet.
Yeah, it feels
we have Wong showing up in Shang-Chi taking him, but for what?
Yeah, there's a few little crossovers, but there's nothing that's felt like okay, we can kind of see at least the general shape of what's in that burlap bag. Yeah, like there, we just it isn't. It's just it's a big blobby thing right now, and it's like I don't know what it's going to be.
Here's my concern with bringing the X-Men in, especially if they bring them in within the next 5 years, which is the plan, right? As far as we know, 5 to 7 years. Here's my problem with that. You've brought out new characters. You've brought out new heroes. They're not going to have time to shine if you just overshadow them with Fantastic Four and X-Men. You bring the first family of Marvel and the greatest product that Marvel has put out in the X-Men. Like you said with the comic book guy, either it's all of the other heroes or it's X-Men.
Yeah.
It's the greatest product that Marvel has put out in X-Men. Fantastic Four, Marvel's first family, you're going to overshadow all these new heroes that you're trying to build up, and I could see that. I'm not saying that's going to happen. You could do it very well where X-Men and Fantastic Four have their place alongside the new Black Panther, alongside Shang-Chi, and alongside the Eternals and everything like that. And Moon Knight and all these, and Loki and all these other ones and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I worry that these new characters that we're just getting introduced to they're going, oh shit, we fucked up.
No,
it's not good enough. Quick, get the X-Men, get Fantastic Four. We're just going to get them brushed aside.
I do believe there's going to be very separate toy boxes for a time. I do not know that. I don't think we're going to be seeing a big crossover thing probably until Secret Wars.
Right.
I just don't. And there's another good one to read too.
Secret Wars is one that I have. I want to read that.
Yeah. But like because I do believe what do we got for that Kang's Dynasty? Like I don't think you're going to see all those show up there. Like
No.
I just no, and I even think long term you're going to see like there's going to be Avengers movies, and then there's going to be
X-Men movies.
big like full on Marvel Universe movies, and I think that's the difference with like Kang's Dynasty versus Secret Invasion or Secret Wars, and
okay.
so I think there's going to be kind of a level where like there's the Avengers, Fantastic Four are doing their thing, X-Men are doing their thing, that you can crisscross them where like Wolverine can
It's
show
gonna be,
up.
I think I understand one thing now. I think you just lit a light bulb under me, over my head, I should say, not under me. I think Avengers movies need to be bumped down a notch. It's Avengers, it's the X-Men, it's the Fantastic Four. There's the different groups that are going to have their big team-up movies from their universe, and then there's going to be a big one.
And here's my question. Do we think that the X-Men are going to be their own movies, or are there going to be Wolverine movies and like the X-Men movies are the Avengers movies of that branch? You know what I mean?
That
Like,
branch,
I think
yeah.
we're just assuming because everything that's ever been done up to this point, it's just an X-Men movie. Well, you've had a couple spin-off things, but it's like
You had Logan, you had X-Men Origins Wolverine.
And I would hope if they do that, they don't do Wolverine. They need to lay off him.
He needs to be a smaller character at first.
Yeah, but do you do a God forgive me, a Gambit movie? Do you do a Scott Summers movie? Do you do those kind of things to where you kind of don't
give me a Jubilee movie.
You don't build up to like and this is the X-Men and like the event. Like you're not recapping phase 1. I'm just saying, do you do a thing where maybe it's even smaller, like a couple people?
Yeah.
Like do you maybe do like an X-Men movie, but it's like just that original couple people,
Sure.
and then off to the side there's like the Hellfires Club, and then there's like the Brotherhood of the Mutants.
What's the Canadian group?
I forget.
Where it has like the little guy that like rolls up into a cannonball, just
Yeah.
right into people.
Yeah, so
It's got Sasquatch.
yeah, but I think the other thing too is overall that I'll say is I really wish that James Gunn was still involved and was kind of the right-hand man to Feige, because I would feel much different about
Sure.
all of this if everything didn't happen the way that it did.
Would you feel better if Feige got himself a right-hand guy that handled X-Men? Bring on
Potentially.
that guy that knows X-Men. Bring on or lady.
Yeah.
Bring on that person that knows X-Men.
Yeah.
And is like, all right, Feige, you go play in your sandbox. Let me handle mine.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You want to do this crossover? You want to do this event? Yeah, I'll give you this guy, and she's good, and here's Storm. Let have her go marry Black Panther, or whatever.
Yeah.
But that person has control over the X-Men. I like
Yeah.
that. We're out of time. We're actually over. Give me your final thought on X-Men.
We also did start a tiny bit late too.
A little bit. But we also have to do our outro stuff. So give me your final thoughts on X-Men.
Final
sir.
thoughts. I love X-Men. It was my first love. I did it, like I said, I had some hand-me-down comics, so I did appreciate things like Hulk and Captain America and stuff. So I wasn't like exclusively X-Men, but X-Men is probably my first love in the Marvel universe, because I will caveat that, because Batman and Superman both pre-existed my love and appreciation of X-Men. But in the Marvel side, this is my DNA for Marvel, even though I had some tastes here and there of some other stuff. And that's why I love Captain America. That's why I love the Incredible Hulk. But X-Men, it's my jam.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can't go. I don't think I could stay any heavier than the fact that Magneto is my all-time favorite comic book character. Like that puts him above Batman, Superman,
you need
everyone else. Like he is. I love him. I think he's one of the most compelling characters. Yeah.
You
So
need yourself a Magneto tattoo.
yeah, I've thought about different Magneto tattoos for
Just
sure.
his helmet.
Yeah, what I've thought about doing is the helmet and then the Magneto did nothing wrong
Get out of here.
line. There's a cool T-shirt they make of that.
How can this be for the greater good? Shut it!
Shut it! Oh, it is for the greater good. What about you? your-
There are three cartoons that defined my childhood for superheroes: Batman the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, and the Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
That you know which Spider-Man I'm talking
Oh yeah,
about.
yeah, the one in the 90s.
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
That
not
one.
not the 1960s, because everyone
No.
always just, I think people conflate that.
Nope.
And they think that classic
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
they think that was the
Nope.
one in the 90s. No.
That
There's the
one that starts off with that
like the like the-
guitar riff.
the electric guitar.
Those
yeah.
three define my love for comic book
Okay.
heroes, which is interesting because Peter Parker is more of a Superman type than a Batman type, but Logan, Gambit, and Batman, they are in the same DNA
The
of
rogues.
the rogues that will do what needs to be done and don't give a shit about the consequences kind of
Do
guys.
what must be done.
I will do what must be done. But yeah, so that's X-Men for us. We will be talking about them more.
Yeah,
there is no way we only talk about them one time.
This is part 1 of the X-Men.
Part
for sure.
1.
For sure.
To be continued.
In fact, there will be a debate episode at some point about
It's
Magneto.
not going to happen.
Oh, it'll happen.
It's not going to
sir.
happen.
It'll happen because that you've even alluded to it. We didn't actually tip the cards to everyone else. You know. But
you just alluded to it more than anything with your tattoo, is you believe that Magneto did nothing wrong, which is absolute bullshit. Anyways, we still have to tease next episode.
Yep. So next time on Geekery Abides,
Band of Brothers. Yeah.
we just discussed it a little bit at work. We
Dude,
realized
this is a DNA for our friendship.
for our friendship.
This right here is one of the first things that we bonded over was Band of Brothers.
So yeah, and I will just give a tease out to say I still hold this as one of the greatest things ever put to film. So yeah, I think let's just geek out.
We still quote it.
In 2 weeks. Let's geek out on
Let's do it.
some Band of Brothers. So
Hoorah.
all right,
Hooray!
we will sign off with this one. Let me find the recording here.
Oh, that's what I'm going to do from now on when I'm signing off from every show. Go ahead. I'm going to show you my new sign off, all right?
Well, as I always sign off with, let your geek flags fly high, love what you love, and to hell with anyone that has any beef with that.
That's right, bub. Listen to him.
All right, see you guys in a fortnight.
Bye, everyone.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us.
I almost forgot the YouTube thing again. I took my headphones off like I did last time.
I think we went a little long on news and some tangents there, so hopefully X-Men got enough coverage. We were about an hour in before we got to it,
this is an introduction, a soft introduction to a category. So this is not the only time we're going to talk about X-Men.
No, not at all. But
Especially when we get more news about Wolverine. That game looks fucking great.
Yeah, and
it's Insomniac
and the MCU. We're going to be getting some X-Men news over there, maybe even some castings at some point. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us. We'll see you in a couple weeks for Band of Brothers, as well as Dark Tower, diving into Went Through the Keyhole.
Woo!
See you guys.
Bye.